and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
Good evening,
Hello,
everyone.
hello, hello.
Yep, thanks for joining us. We still got people coming in, and we're excited tonight it's not actually an exciting topic. That's
Right.
that's the news. There it is. It's out the bag. I think it's important though that we discuss this. Matter of fact, it's crucial that we discuss this. So not only do we need to kind of just bear down and get through this information, it's imperative for most people that we talk about this. So what are we talking about tonight? Tonight, we're talking about the retirement crisis that is already here. We're already seeing the impact of this with the baby boomer generation. And the reason why we have to talk about it is because of what's coming. I think there are a lot of people that are talking about that there's a crisis, the recession, but not what to do about it, not what to
Right.
do in the terms of true solutions, right? Really all they have is to throw old habits and old solutions and old systems at this very real problem, but those are the systems that created the problem in the first place. So this is why we need to talk about it. So get in here if you are wanting to know all about why it happened, if you're wanting to know all about whose fault it is and whose burden it will be and what to do about it, you're in the right place.
Yeah, I think part of the irritating part for me, it seems like when we go live, the prior days or the prior week, depending on what we've talked about, my feed all of a sudden ends up with kind of synopsis around what we've already talked about. And I think this week it was retirement crisis. Like I kept seeing these videos around retirement crisis, retirement crisis. And as I would watch them, to your point, and this is my irritation with social media in general, is we talk about the problem, but we never talk about what do you do about it or what the solution is. And if there is a solution, it's hey, continue doing what you're doing. Hey, the market is crashing and you're losing money inside of your retirement, but you know what? Market's on sale. Continue buying, continue doing what you're doing, and it'll get better. You'll get through it.
Right.
And I just, where are the solutions? And or maybe just say, I don't know. I don't know what the solutions are. This is just where we happen to be, but we keep offering the same things, and so I think this is good to also help our audience kind of understand a little bit more as to kind of the I'll call it the scope of what we offer. We've been talking a lot about velocity banking and what to do with your cash flow and secure compound interest accounts, but that's not the breadth of what it is we do. And I think this is also an opportunity to help you understand, even though there is a crisis, and even though there are opportunities, within the vehicles that you're currently using to get to your goal, there are some actions that can be taken. There are some things that you can do to take ownership, take control, get self-directed, and be able to put yourself in a better place. So I think that's the key.
Yeah, no doubt. You said a lot there, and I just want to kind of unpack for those who just joined us because we have still have people got the notification. Hey, they're on. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Tonight, we're talking about the retirement crisis. It's already here, and I agree with you. I've been seeing a lot of this, but again, what they're not talking about is what to do about it. Like the fact that it's here is makes great content, right? It
Right.
makes for great videos. It makes for great articles because there's a lot of articles, and some of them we've kind of snipped some things out to show what these statistics are, these studies that have been done, and what is actually coming. So all of that's great information to know what's coming, to understand what to do and how to, or at least what to be prepared for if you don't have any better options, right?
Right.
So that's what we're going to talk about today is what are the reasons why this happens so that we can not repeat it. I think if anything, if what I would love to be able to see is, some of these major news channels or some of these major websites that are covering this topic talk about how do we avoid getting into the same situation later versus just throwing more money at it. I think that's the frustrating part is reading some of this stuff. And please chime in the chat if you have also been reading up on this and you're a little frustrated with some of the solutions that they've come out. If you're just like, I don't even get it, none of it, I don't get any of it. Totally get that too. And this is particularly for you because we're breaking it down to give you a complete 360 view on the problem and what your options are, really, so that you can avoid it. So we believe that this could have been avoided if they would have just paid attention to what solutions have been available to all of us, and just not been so stubborn on pushing an agenda and pushing solutions that did not actually serve the people. So now that it's not serving the people, it's not serving the government either, that the people are broke. And so now they're going, well, now we need to do something about it. And instead of being accountable for why we're in this problem in the first place, it's really more of a let's steer everybody to look over here, and we're going to pull back the curtain. That's what we do. We spill the tea over here. So we're going to dive in and get to it. You have something else you want to add before we get started?
Well, I'm just surprised at how you phrased that, um, as though all they had to do was be more transparent. That's unlike you, because they have something to gain. There's a reason why there's a lack of transparency. There's a reason why all of the solutions aren't readily available or laid out or easily accessible for you to take other actions, because there is an agenda. There is a reason why, and I'm just, you know, you're usually the one pushing me down that path. And so I'm just shocked that you didn't kind of highlight the fact that there's an agenda here.
Yeah.
The less you know, the more you run around screaming, my hair is on fire. And the more content you consume around people telling you your hair is on fire, the less you actually stop, drop, roll, and try to find actual solutions to be able to get out of it. Because I think the media in general just wants us to be in a panic versus, hey, I get it. This is where we are, but you know what? Here's some actions that we can take to just kind of get ourselves into a better place.
Yeah, well, they act like they're being transparent because what they're saying are these are the solutions so that people can retire early, so that they can retire just in general. And that's not the case. They knew that people weren't going to be able to retire. They not to mention when they were making decisions. You know what? Let's just get into it and let's show them what we have instead of
Yep.
continuing talking about it. I'm sure they're tired and want to see it already because I want to show it to them. Some of these things you're going to be like, what in the world? If these are experts, these are people who have not volunteered, but they were elected, right, to make the best decisions for all of us. Then these are the best decisions for all of us. I think this is the point where we really push. You have to become self directed. You have to take control. When you see this, you'll understand the importance of why it is like imperative that you start to educate yourself. And if they could make these decisions, we could have easily have done the exact same and been wound up in the exact same situation, not being experts, right? Let's see, Ted Berry. The retirement crisis has been in the works for a while when companies, started switching over to the 401k. Instead of continuing the company benefits, which offered a retirement package, aka pensions, right?
That's it. And why? Why was that? Because there was a comment made last week or a few days ago around, do we know why the 401k was even started, why it was introduced? And it was to curve some of the actions that were happening inside of companies. It was never meant or never designed to replace the pension.
Right.
But the partnership between those who offer the 401k and the companies who provide the 401k, that partnership turned it into something more, turned it actually into a lucrative operation that allowed them to be able to make more money off you prior to retirement and give you incentive to defer your taxes, to defer your retirement income so that it puts you in a worse place in the future. So it's all by design. Absolutely all by design.
It was to say they were putting the monkey where they say it belonged, right? Essentially, they were saying, now you get to be in charge. You know what? We don't want to be in charge anymore because it's
Right.
too much. We're going broke. It's not beneficial for us. So you be in charge of your future welfare. You be in charge of it because we don't want to. It's no, we don't want to do it.
Right.
And that's really what it was. It was we have more loopholes this way because if you mess it up, then it's on you. But the truth is, okay, let's just get into it because I have so much to say, but I really want to show them what I'm talking about first. So I'm gonna I'm gonna put over here and put you and the vibe board that I'll pop in. Okay. All right.
No
And hey,
problem.
Dan, we see you over there on LinkedIn. All right, hold on.
All right. So America's retirement crisis. And so the thought process was, okay, what does that even mean? And again, these are just different articles that seem to be just making their way through our feed around what is currently happening with retirement. I think this one is titled, Here's Why There's a Looming Retirement Crisis. And the piece that we just wanted to highlight was some of the excerpts or some of the just different lines that were mentioned is around there's additional taxpayer liability due to inadequate retirement savings throughout the household, and it's increasing from whatever it is today to up to about 13.6. And there's a consistent theme in these different articles and these different these vehicles that we found around what is happening with your retirement savings and the burden that is now being placed on you. There's a consistent theme of the burden being placed on the person who is actually trying to retire versus there's an opportunity to take some different action. And so, and even this one, the National Institute of Retirement Security goes further in claiming that at least 65% of workers are saving less than required to meet their retirement needs. And today, Americans are facing a retirement crisis, and ultimately down here, the annual study examines rapidly changing retirement income planning landscapes, including shifts in consumer attitudes, behaviors towards retirement. It's almost though it's someone else's problem, other than the fact that these vehicles that we're using to, I'll call it, save for retirement, were never designed for producing adequate income. It's never about the vehicle. It's about, hey, there's something more that you as the consumer, you as the person who are actually moving into retirement, you have some say or some control or some role to play in this process when it was never you. The truth is the vehicle that is currently in place was never designed to produce income.
Well, I want to speak on that
Yep.
article too, because also what it's saying is that people are waking up and they're choosing different vehicles. So all of the vehicles and all the years that they've been suggesting these traditional vehicles, right? So to Ted's point, the pension used to be the one you would pick your job or your career based on the opportunity to have a pension. Like that was a big bonus. And then came the IRA and the 401k and then Roth, right? And so all of these different types of vehicles that people could qualify for. And now they're going, you know what? We might want to do this a different way because it's not working out for people. And
Shocking.
wow, how profound. They put this in an article like that people are just now realizing they knew this a long time ago. So the fact that 2023, we're just now going to announce that people are starting to do things in a different way. People should have been starting different strategies in the year 2000. And when you see the graph on inflation and when you see the graph on where or the data on where retirement plans currently are, like this one, for instance, heartbreaking.
Right. This is the we used to reference this video a lot in our earlier lives, and it's related to a woman in her late 70s who ran out of or was running out of retirement funds, and so therefore she had to get back into the workforce, and she got back into the workforce as a pizza delivery person. and it's a video of this 70-plus-year-old lady trying to deliver these pizzas to this household. She trips on the steps and she falls and she hurts herself. And the lady is more concerned about the damage to the pizzas than the fact that she's 70 plus years old and now may end up in the hospital because of this incident. And the family whose house that she was delivering the pizzas ended up seeing her and ended up starting a GoFundMe account. And I think that GoFundMe account ended up accumulating somewhere around a quarter of $1 million or something like that. And they presented it to her, and now she's in a better position to be able to finally retire, meaning her supplemental income is now GoFundMe. And the story was this praise on how the community came together and helped this lady retire, versus the real story is she should have never been placed in this position.
That part. Yeah.
This lady, she worked for the school system. She did her part. She came to work every day. She contributed to her 403B. Her 403B was supposed to be the vehicle that was supposed to get her and sustain her through retirement. We're not talking about that part. We're talking
Right.
about the fact that the community came together and provided their $100,000, whatever it was, whatever that contribution amount was, to actually send this lady into a more viable retirement. And I think that's the piece that irks me, is when we're not talking about the true problem.
Right. Or the solution, because the solution is not that the community rallies together, because that's that extra $13,600 that they're saying that we will all have to pay each to make up for the difference because of the demand and on the government to help people. This is going to be insane. And so I don't know. I don't know what they see as an actual solution, and I don't know exactly what that will look like. But what we do know is there is a problem, and understanding what the problem is helps to identify and helps to make better decisions when you are assessing your situation to be able to implement solutions. What I want to say about that lady, though, is in addition to, let's see, nope, okay, so. Yep. Okay. In addition to the fact that she is working later, because so many Americans are having to go back to work because then they realize that they were out of money, but it is dangerous.
Right. Right. Jesus. And I think the comment that's stated here is it's unrealistic to expect older workers to do with onerous or hazardous jobs to keep working into advanced old age. It's unrealistic. Then what are they supposed to do?
So imagine you think you're good. You think you've got a strategy as to how to make your retirement funds last, and something happens, whatever it is, this super jump in inflation, for instance, right? And now you realize at 70, what if it's at 80 or 90 years old and you realize then that you have completely run out of money? Well, you're going to go deliver pizzas at 80 or 90? Depending on your health, you may not have any options. And so then what? And that's the problem, is that by that time you're going, I did everything I was supposed to do. Matter of fact, some of these people put more money in because they wanted to have a better retirement, right? They wanted to travel. They wanted to do all the things they were supposed to do, and they did the work to have it. And now they're realizing, I better get my behind out here and start hustling some pizzas, doing whatever I can do that is least demanding on me, that I think I can at least bring in the income that I need. And I don't think she even thought at the moment when she was making this decision that it was hazardous, that it was dangerous for her, until she got there and went, well, now it's too late. What if she wasn't okay? She did this whole career. She went to school. She saved her money for it to end like this. This is how it ends. This is not okay. And to your point, the story is not that the community rallied together. The story should have been from the very beginning that there is a problem. There is a crisis, a retirement crisis, and that's what should have been illuminated out of the story. So,
and let's be clear, because the retirement account she has, and again, because she worked for the school district, I'm calling it a 403B. Don't know what it is. But whether it was an IRA, a 401k, a 403B, a TSP, a government 457 plan, from my perspective, whether it's Roth or traditional even,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Because the issue is, and I want to be clear here, it's not the vehicle. The 403B is not the problem. The TSP is not the problem. The 401k is not the problem. It's what are those vehicles invested in?
Right.
What are those vehicles in and who controls
Who?
them?
Yeah. Who? Yeah.
What are they invested in and who controls them? We have to peel the layers back because again, this I think this is a great example of we're focused on the wrong thing. Like I'm so happy that this lady is now in a position to be able to retire based off the GoFundMe. Like please don't get me wrong about that. But the true story is why was she placed in this position to begin with? And why are so many other people placed in this position? Meaning, if we're looking for the scam is the vehicle that she put her life savings in, and the people who controlled it and how they used it and the position they put her in are the problem. That's the scam.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what we got next? We were in these articles, you guys. There's and I have the sources. So maybe what I'll do is I'll put them in the description. I didn't have time to do that, but for later I'll put them in the description so that if you want to go and check these articles out, you can.
And just to kind of highlight, because I know this is kind of difficult to read, so I'll highlight what it's saying. 51% of Americans between the ages of 45 and 75 feel they don't have enough retirement to last a lifetime. 32% are not confident they will have enough in retirement and for basic month-to-month expenses. 44% are retired currently or retired previously and have to go back to work. 44%. And this piece, there's a growing demand for protection and annuities. There's a growing demand for control and security. There's a
Yes.
growing demand for getting self-directed and putting your money in a vehicle that is not tied to the stock market and it is lost based off someone's whim. There's a growing concern of Americans who want their money in a different place so that they can sleep well at night knowing that it's doing its job. And again, it's not the vehicle. It is not the IRA, the 401k, or the 403b. That's not the problem. The problem is who currently has it.
Well, if would you get a job? I have a question for everyone. Would you get a job? Now, sales is kind of like this, where you what your income was going to be is based off of your performance. Okay. Would you agree to work to put all 40 hours, let's say 40 hours a week, into a job where your income is based off of someone else's performance? Because that's essentially what they're saying. They're saying we are tired of our income being decided by somebody else's performance, and we want to know what our income is going to be. We have to know what our income is going to be, and that's what some of these out of the box non unconventional strategies are. They are the most secure. They're the only way that they can know what their income is going to be when they go to retire. Am I going to be okay? Am I going to have to sell my house? Am I going to have to move out of state? Some people have to move out of state just because the cost of living, right, is different where they are, and they cannot afford to live where they are anymore. I want to pull this up real quick, if you don't mind. This comment by Ricardo, because I think there's a lot to unpack here. He says also some of the problem is older parents and grandparents are spoiling the younger generations.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
I hear entitlement.
well, there's I do think that some of these younger generations are not going to have a clue about what's coming for them or what it's going to cost them just to live. And then what, right? So I do think that there is a deficit there because I think that there were at least 3, 4 generations in a row who had their eyes on the decades ahead of them and what life was going to look like. And I think we're kind of losing some of that, and there is a big sense of self, my world, right? It's my bubble. So I do think there's that. Here's the piece that I wanted to highlight, though. Ricardo, imagine that your parents, like for a lot of people, it's their parents right now who are faced with this crisis. They're the ones realizing I don't have enough. And so what are they going to do? They look to their kids. Look, I cared for you. I brought you up. I supported you. I need your support now. Are you budgeting to be able to support your parents? Because essentially a lot of parents right now didn't budget to continue supporting their kids, but they're having to do that too because of inflation, right?
But hold on, you have to roll this graph into that as well, because I think this graph speaks loudly to that.
Yeah.
The grandparents didn't have to deal with this spike that you see. The grandparents, they're a bit more secure in their pensions that they had with that company 30 years ago that's continuing to still pay them today. Whereas this, and I don't want to call it younger generation because I'm in it, but the truth is, people who are not retired today are dealing with something that, I think it's easy to say that our grandparents did not. And I think this is where that multi-generational housing ends up coming into play. Meaning there's a lot more families that are living together longer, the kids, the parents, the grandkids, all in the same household, because show me one 24, 25, 26-year-old that can afford a $300,000 mortgage with this spike in place. This spike in inflation is shifting and changing a lot, meaning since the pandemic, we have all had to reassess how we live our life. And so it's not all on, I'll call it the grandparent or the grandparent who is, I'll call it spoiling the generation. There are also these circumstances financially, economically, that are also causing this as well.
Yeah, well, I wish we could do a poll right now while we're live to find out how many people are down to do multi-generational living. And if your parent, mother, father-in-law, or your mother, father needed to have that extra support because they don't have a retirement, because there's a huge percentage of people that just don't even have a retirement, right? But would you be open? Would that be something that you're like, you know what, maybe, okay, we'll buy a bigger house in case we have to bring in parents? Would you keep a bigger house just because your kids might move in? Would you leave your home to go move into a different place just so that it could accommodate everybody? There's like so many things that have to be considered here that while we've been talking about paying off your house and using your home as an asset, what if all of a sudden that asset becomes pointless because you can't fit everybody in the house and they can't afford to live on their own? That's
Yeah,
what's
it's
crazy
a, it's a
about
real
that
thing.
graph.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Am I? Yeah, I am. And I think the last piece around this was whatever. And I think this came out of the Source National Affairs, like Angelique mentioned. I think what we'll go ahead and do is put some of the sources into the chat or into the video itself once we get that up in place. But whatever the course we take, we must what we must do is open our eyes and be clear and grasp reality. Talk of massive retirement crisis lacks such grasp, and so it is more a hindrance than a help to improving retirement security. Ultimately saying what we need to do is open our eyes and be very clear on what's happening in front of us. And what that means is there may be some actions that we have to take that are outside the scope of what Fidelity, Vanguard, and these people who currently have our retirement actually have to offer us. And it's mainly because they do not have our best interests at heart. So we have to do the research. We have to educate ourselves on what are those actions we can take so that we are not subject to only the results that these institutions can provide for us.
Because, man, we can sit here and talk about why this happened. We can talk about whose fault it is, right? But the whole point of us getting out here to talk about it in the way that we know it should be talked about is because ultimately it is our burden.
Right.
All of us, every single one of us, it will be our burden. There is not a single government entity that is going to say, our bad. Here you go. We'll try to make it better. It's not going to, they don't have those kinds of options. And nor would you want to be at the mercy of whatever it is that they came up that they decided was good enough for you. Meanwhile, everyone who works at the decision-making level, right, they're good. They're not struggling like everybody else. They are good. So that this is, again, this is why we have to understand not just what the problem is, not just how we got here, but what you can do about it, because everybody's profile is going to be different. And I also want to just highlight that everybody's profile is going to be different. So what we can say is what we are doing, right? We can say what we have done, when we see this, we go, "Oh, we're going to be okay." I don't know many people who can say that, especially unless they're rich, right? But you don't have to be rich to be secure. And that's the whole point of why we're even out here on YouTube talking about it, is that you do not have to be rich to be financially secure. That is a lie. So we are going to,
So to
well,
kind
go
of
ahead.
dig, yep. So to kind of dig into what do you do about it? Like, okay, there's a problem. There are some actions that need to be taken. What can I control? What role can I play? What can I do about it to kind of assist in getting to a different place? How can I take responsibility over the pieces that I can control? And I think before we get into it, we just kind of have to level. I want to make sure we're on the same foundation as far as just what I am talking about.
Okay.
Part of the pieces, one of the pieces that jumps out at me when I listen to people talk about the current situation that we're in today as it relates to retirement and the retirement crisis is they use these two words interchangeably: investment and savings. They use investment and savings the same way, meaning you are investing in your 401k so that you can save for retirement.
Yeah.
And again, they use these words interchangeably. And one of the things that jumped out at me, I used to work for Ford Motor Company, and I had what's called an SSIP, a savings stock investment plan. Savings stock investment plan was the name of my 401k. Again, it's making it sound as though this is a savings plan that I'm investing in stocks to be able to produce my retirement. And the reason this graph is showing, or the reason these two graphs are showing, is I want to make sure it's clear. There is a difference between investment interest and compound interest. There's a difference in investing for retirement and saving for retirement. It's just flat out. To me, when people say they are investing towards their retirement, I hear a certain thing. When people tell me they are saving towards retirement, I hear something different. And I just wanted to highlight and talk through what those differences are, because if you can understand the differences in investing for retirement and saving for retirement, I think that will help you also identify what vehicles you need to move your money into so that you can adequately be able to hit your goal. And so in order to highlight that, I wanted to first start with the risk return pyramid. And here's what I mean. And I've shared this before over different subjects, but basically the way this risk return pyramid works is as you move up the pyramid, the things that you have your money in get more risky. As you move down the pyramid, the things that you have your money in get less risky. So what's at the base of the pyramid? We're talking your savings account. We're talking bonds. We're talking insurance-based investments, U.S. savings bonds. What's at the top? Really, what should be at the top is cryptocurrency. But this risk return pyramid was done before that. So that's the only reason it's not at the top. But the bottom line is, as you move up this pyramid, the risk gets greater. So where does your current retirement accounts live? What section of this pyramid are they in? And they're here.
Oh, well,
I'm
some
listening.
people may not know where they are because it's just to them it's just a 401k
Right.
because their job really no different than you. They call it something that you don't even know what the heck it is. You just go, well, you know what? F it, I'm gonna throw some money every month because that feels like I'm doing
Because
what
I'm
I'm supposed to
saving for my
do.
retirement.
Well,
Right.
yeah, and it feels like the responsible thing to do, knowing that you know it's important, you know you're going to need money, but you don't know where it's going, you don't know the fees involved or the risks involved, right?
Exactly. And so understanding that there is a difference between investing and saving is the only point that I'm wanting to make. And the difference between the two is the word risk.
Okay,
You
I will.
reduce to eliminate the risk, you're saving. As the risk increase, you're investing. Why? Because you're subject to whatever happens in the market or whatever happens to the variables around that risk.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
say this one other thing. When I'm talking about HR and the people us, right, who have opted into these programs and the lack of information, I just want to be really, really clear. I am never saying that you made a wrong decision. I am never saying it was and like suggesting that it was like an ignorant thing that you did or that we're dumb or anybody who does that was unknowing. I feel like sometimes when I'm listening back to our live streams that it could be taken that way, and I don't want it to be. The point is that we are supposed to be able to trust people. If you go to a doctor, should you have a degree in medicine before you go to that doctor or that specialist so that you can understand whether or not they are advising you correctly or they're ordering the right tests? That's the whole point, is that we should be able to trust these people so that we can do our job, right? And they're doing their job. But unfortunately, some of these particular industries, financial industry in particular, some of them down to the HR level do not even understand what it is that they're promoting.
Right.
So it's not your fault that you opted in. It's not their fault that they were like singing its praises, right? It's just a part of the programming and it's a part of the system. So I just wanted to clarify that because I don't
Spot
ever
on.
want to come off as being like judgy or suggesting that somebody has made a mistake because we're doing our best out here. That's what we're
Right.
doing.
Right. And not only are we doing our best, we're doing what we are like, meaning there's only so much we have control over. And the message, if you don't leave with any other message today, is there are ways to take more control over your destiny.
Yep.
Because the people who currently have control don't care about you. Hard stop.
And Ted, to your point, he has a comment here. Hold on, you're jumping ahead because we're gonna get there. I promise. Yes.
So we're not going to go over the comment. I saw it pop
No,
up and then
I'm just saying he just hold
teaser,
on a second, Ted.
teaser.
Yeah, because he's hopping ahead, but he's absolutely right. Where he's going is where we're going. So I'm glad everybody's on the same page. We're all on board. So anyway, you
Okay.
continue.
So the question that I have, and it's just something that you think about, and you can throw it in the chat if you would like, throw it in the comments. Love it. Think about this: your current dollars that you are using to hit a retirement goal. Your traditional retirement account that you have with your employer. Maybe you're doing something outside of your traditional employer. Is it tied to the stock market? Meaning, is the growth of the vehicle that you're using to hit your goal, your future goals, is it tied to the stock market? Meaning, is it based on whether or not the market does great or not? Because if it's tied to the stock market and you are calling it a savings plan, it is an investment plan. And again, I'm pretty confident, as much heat as I've caught around some of the things I've said around velocity banking, I think this is going to make some heads explode as well.
Yeah.
Because your 401k, I just want to say it again, your 401k, your IRA, your 403b, your TSP, your government 457 plan, and any other investment that is dependent on the stock market is an investment plan. Even if in the name of the plan, it says savings. Just because it has savings in the name does not make it a savings vehicle. And here's what I mean. There is actually a mathematical equation that you can use to understand whether you have an investment account or a savings account. Is this an investment account focused on wins and losses, or is this a savings account focused on wealth? And it's an actual mathematical equation, and I just wanted to share it. And my wife is going to get on me for my handwriting, so I'm just putting that caveat out there to begin with. I get it. I don't write very well, but
No.
it kind of is what it is.
No, okay, this is the thing, because I'm not trying to be a bully about your handwriting. What I realized was when I was trying to write on the Vibe board, even through the iPad, my handwriting looked like hot trash too when I couldn't write like I normally would write. So, not that yours is looking like hot trash. We can see it, and it is getting better. It's
So
getting better, right, guys?
if you look at these two equations, there's a difference. There's a big difference. Y equals A times 1 plus or minus R to the X versus Y equals A times 1 plus R to the X. Each one of these variables have a meaning. Each one of these variables have a clear definition and are defined as to how money grows. But without getting into that, I just want you to take a look at both equations and understand there is a distinct difference. And it's a very easy difference to pick out. One has a minus and one does not. That minus equals risk. If you can remove the minus, if you can remove the negative from this equation, you can eliminate risk. So let's think about your 401k. 401k rides with the market. The market does great. You do great. The market crashes. Your 401k crashes. You're now starting from a lesser position, and then you have to recover from where that is. That plus and minus performance creates linear growth. If it is possible to remove the risk, and maybe you can't remove the risk, if it's possible to lessen the risk, if you can make that minus as small as possible, you can create secure, uninterrupted compound interest. And again, this is just math. Your 401k, your traditional retirement accounts are tied to the market. That makes them investment accounts, regardless of the name. If your 401k was not tied to the stock market, then it can become a savings account. So it's not the vehicle. The problem is not the IRA. The problem is not the 401k. The problem is not the TSP. The problem is where the money is being, I'll call it invested. The vehicle or the system that the money is being invested in. Because it's tied to the market, it is growing. Your dollars are growing in an investment interest fashion, meaning it has the ability to be great, but it also has the ability to put you in a position to where you have to recover. It also has the ability to put you in a position to where you might have to work longer than you expected. It puts you in a position to where, you know what, I'm running out of money because the growth in my account due to the pandemic, or due to we changed presidents, or due to the fact that Elon Musk bought Twitter, or the fact that eggs are $36 a dozen, I am now running out of retirement, and therefore I need to now go back to work and deliver pizzas to bridge the gap between what I had versus what I have today. Versus if that 403B that lady had was sitting in a vehicle that, regardless of who was president, regardless of what inflation was, regardless of what the market did or did not do, her retirement, her basis was okay. So the protest, the scam, the piece that we need to get upset about is not the vehicle, not the tool, not the IRA 401k. It's where it's being invested, because you're being sold a lie. What you're being sold is your retirement account is it's saving. It's a savings account. Your 401k is growing savings for your retirement. That's not true. It's an investment account. And now, if you're lucky, you will have enough in that investment account to be able to secure your retirement. But what if we could move it? What if we could take that vehicle and put it in a position such that it is not tied to the stock market? That is the message that I'm hoping is being received here. And to further make my point,
Okay.
and again, I brought this up last week, target date fund. If you were to peel back the layers of your retirement account is based on the target date fund, meaning there is a date that you have to retire. And based off that date, the amount in your retirement account is either going to be aggressive, moderate, or in bonds, and hopefully making sure you don't run out of money when you hit a certain age, meaning the allocation of how your retirement dollars are distributed determines whether or not you end in retirement with or without money. So your financial advisor already knows your traditional retirement accounts are not savings plans. They already know it, which is why they created the 4% rule. Which is why you have a target date fund, which says, hey, based off your retirement date, you need to go from fully aggressive to more 50-50. And then from even 50-50 to maybe 25 aggressive, 75 not. And then we move into bonds. And then Because we want to make sure you don't run out of money in retirement, the max that you can take out of your retirement is based off this thing called the Trinity study. A lot of people put their heads together and said, hey, what is that max dollar amount we can tell the people who have these investment accounts? What's the max we can tell them that they can take so that they don't run out of money? And that rule is the 4% rule. The max you can take out of your retirement so that you don't run out of money today is 4%. But here's the other piece. Here's the caveat to that. If you are already in retirement, you're dealing with the 4%. If you are like me or much younger than me and you have quite some time before you hit retirement age, the new message is that 4% may look more like 3, maybe
Well,
3.5,
and that's
maybe two and a
actually
half.
that's a Morningstar study that was recently released this year that says the 4% is too aggressive, that it needs to look more like 3.3%. So what that means is if you had $1 million in your retirement, which only a small percentage of people do, a 4% is $40,000 a year. Well, if you
Right.
can't live off $40,000 a year now, how are you going to live off $40,000 a year in 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 years, right?
Hold on, but I'm a millionaire.
But 3.3% is significantly less. What's the math on that? I'm gonna go do it.
33,000.
Exactly. So,
I love you.
well, yeah, that makes sense. You know, I hate math, so I don't naturally just be trying to do the math. But I'll tell you what, it is easy when you're like, pick a struggle. You know what I mean? Either get some systems in place so you are not having to do this math, or you're gonna have to be doing a whole lot of math to try to make it work.
So again, so this visual that I'm bringing up now is what are the differences in the two equations? One is an investment equation, one is a wealth building equation. If you're putting both equations to work, what's the difference? There's a clear difference, meaning in most IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, you name it, government retirement accounts, government controlled retirement accounts, they grow faster initially. Meaning, if you look at the graph of a traditional retirement account, initially they move pretty quickly, but they decelerate, meaning your allocation changes as you get older. Target date fund, they decelerate. And initially, the fees are lower. Initially, it costs less. Think about it. If you started a 401k and you put $100 in it, and let's say that fee is 1%, 1% of $100, not a big deal. But 25 years from now, when that 401k has $100,000 in it and you're paying that same 1%, that fee is drastically different. And that fee has been compounding over the last 20 years. So yes, the fees start out smaller because that's how they bring you in. Hey, come over here and join this fund because it's cheap. What's 1%? What's 2% of nothing? Not a big deal. Not knowing that as the account starts to grow, that 1% fee ends up taking 2/3 of your growth, which means that 70-year-old that ended up retiring at the right age, thinking she had the right amount of money, had the fees inside of her account not been compounding throughout the life, she would have retired with 2/3 more in retirement, which means she would not have been placed in a position to where she had to now deliver pizzas. So again, it's not her fault, but it is her burden. And again, the difference is in a secure compound interest account, it absolutely grows slowly. This is not sexy. It takes time. Your money takes time in a secure wealth account. The accelerated growth, though, is what happens is the difference between the two graphs. If you remember, the accelerated growth allows you to sustain retirement because you're getting the maximum amount of income possible when you're in retirement. You're getting the maximum amount of income possible when you need it the most. Versus the 4% rule says we're going to dumb things down to 4% of what your total is so you don't run out of money. Again, it's 180 degrees opposite of what we've been conditioned to understand. And then, yes, the fees start out higher. Why? Because it takes more work to build accounts like this. But the fees decrease over time. They are passively managed. And because they're passively managed, the fees are lower. The early retirement flexibility, these vehicles are not tied to the stock market. So therefore, you have the potentially in some to be able to retire early. Tax-free growth, because your money is placed in the right position, you're not concerned about what the tax rate is in the future because your money is in a position for you to be able to take tax-free income regardless of the age. You don't have that capability inside of your traditional retirement account. You were about to say something?
I am, because I just have to talk about this. Is anybody else so hot? It is so hot this summer. I've been going off camera. I'm just going to show you guys what I've been doing. All of this right here
Drink
because,
more water.
well, I'm trying, but it's so hot. It was 119 degrees yesterday, and this is what it made me think about. This is why I'm even bringing it up. Not just to complain, although, can I just get a dang girl, that's hot, 119. I'm bringing it up because our home used to be like $600 a month in the summer easily
True story.
to
Maybe
have
eight.
it. And
Maybe eight.
matter of fact, that was with you and I constantly battling about what the temperature should be. Like, you should probably have that, should be in marital counseling or something. Like, what temperature in the summer do you prefer? Because I was like, I can't handle it. It's too hot. And he was like, look, do you see this bill? Like, this is getting crazy out here. The point is, we ended up getting solar, and that helped us decrease the bill because now whatever the solar does, the math on that, right? But also our bill is lower. But for those who don't have solar on a super hot summer like this, that bill goes from being an average of $600 in the summer to 750, 800. And if that AC breaks and it is 119 degrees outside and you don't instantly have access to what was it? $10,000 a unit, something. I don't know how much air conditioners cost anymore, but I'm sure they're not getting cheaper, right? And
Right.
if you don't have access to those kinds of things and you are not set up and properly structured to have full control over your funds and your life to make solutions, to at least tap into solutions for yourself, then you're just going to burn. And that is what a lot of people face. Imagine you're 80 or 90 and all of a sudden the electric company, because this is what's coming, right? The electric company decides we could charge whatever we want for electricity. What are people going to do? Not pay it?
Right.
Because what were we paying 15 years ago for a summer?
And that was kind of the thought process around solar. And again, you bring up, I think this is a great point to kind of interject because it's a different vehicle. We had to step outside the box and assess the situation, do the math around it, and identify, hey, is there another vehicle? Is there a way that we can take more control over this situation versus allow this problem as it relates to the electric bill on this home to end up causing us to put us in a different financial position. Now,
Right.
was it expensive up front? Absolutely it was. But the math says over time, it actually works itself out to the point where we're actually making money on the energy that we're producing, all because we stepped outside of the box and took a different approach. And again, the message here is the vehicles that your current, I'll call it retirement plan is invested in, if it's tied to the stock market, you are putting yourself in a position where you're going to have to succumb to the 4% rule. If you just step back, take a look at what you have, reassess what you have, there may be an opportunity to be able to move those retirement dollars into a vehicle that allows you to remove the risk. If it allows you to remove the risk, you now can then take a bit more control over how your retirement is growing over time and maybe even overcome the 4% rule, because the objective is to overcome the 4% rule.
And Craig, we are so glad you're on board because Craig gets it. It's clear by his comments that he gets it. Bought solar last year and current bill is $25 a month, paid for it with a HELOC, saving $12,000. And that was where the math because we didn't have to finance it through anybody if we didn't want to. We're the bank, right? Now, all of a sudden, when you start to really look at the overall savings, regardless, the math for us though was it actually was cheaper for us to do it this way than to not have solar.
Right.
Even starting now, even though there was an upfront cost, you would just, if we're the bank and we're making a payment to ourselves like we're the bank and we're assessing what that cost would be, it still made sense in that way. Craig, great point. This is where having leverage really, really matters. And so that is all that's our pulpit. It's the leverage conversation. Where is your leverage and how are you going to get more of it?
And so to kind of move into the next phase of this discussion around then what do, you kind of have to understand where we were or where we've been and where we're headed. Meaning we most of us, like there's a few of us who work for the post office or have some jobs still tied to the state or tied to the Fed that offer pensions. There are pensions still out there, I get it, but the majority of us are in that 401k era. And as I mentioned, 401ks and all of the products like 401ks are not retirement savings plans. They are retirement investment plans, meaning there's risk involved. And so the objective is how do you transition those products into more of the era that we're headed? You've heard me talk a lot about secure compound interest accounts. Why? The number one reason you hear me talk about secure compound interest accounts is because at my age, I do not have time for risk. I do not have time for loss. Secure compound interest accounts offer you a 0% floor, which allows you to not lose money due to market risk. And then the other piece around that is a secure self-directed retirement account. A self-directed retirement plan in the form of self-directing your IRA or your 401k to be able to invest in what you want. You've heard me talk a lot about secure compound interest accounts, but what I wanted to do is kind of walk you through how a self-directed retirement plan like an IRA or 401k can help you. If you were to just simply take a previous employer's plan, and again, what we're talking about are plans that you can have access to, meaning you can only control what you can control. The company that you work for owns the retirement plan that you have today. 9 times out of 10, that company will not allow you to move that money from the company you're with. There's not a lot I can do about that unless they allow what's called an in-service transfer. We can dig into that. But my point is, I'm talking about retirement accounts that you have available to you from previous employers that aren't necessarily achieving the goal that you want to hit. You have the ability to move those out of the market. And
Oh,
so, go ahead.
real quick, because we have some questions and
Yeah,
some
we can jump into them.
comments.
Jump into them.
First, Creating Daily wants to know if there's uh, any recommended banks to look at for a PLOC that gives you an account with a card that is that a thing? We'll consider a HELOC with a card access as well, asking for a highly motivated friend.
Yep. So the first position HELOC we have is tied to a debit card. So are there home equity line of credit or lines of credit out there that allow you the same flexibility that you would have if it was any kind of checking or savings account? Absolutely. And here's, again, there's two approaches. You can go down this path all by yourself. That is not a problem. You can do this. You do not need help. You do not need assistance. And my approach to that was I drew a circle around the map, radius, circle a certain radius around our home. And I hit every bank and credit union within that radius. Because 9 times out of 10, because you're local to them, they're more likely to be able to offer you opportunities based off the radius around your home. That was how I started. And the key thing to do is just walk in and have a conversation around PLOCs, HELOCs, SB locks, you name it, and just understand what their opportunities are. But in addition to that, there's a white glove service out there that can also assist you in identifying what these tools are. I am not a bank, so you cannot get a HELOC from me. I understand how to use them, but you cannot get it from me. There are white service communities out there, and I belong to one of them, Replace Your University, that will assist you in identifying what those opportunities are. And I know we've put that Angelique's done a great job of putting that link into the comments of the different videos that we've have. And I'm assuming it's up on the site as well. But in addition, after this, we'll also place that in the comments here as well. So short answer
Okay.
is yes.
The next one
It's a
is
lot to say yes.
from Carl. Yeah, yes, we will put those
Yes.
links in there. Carl is looking about what contribution amount to be able to theoretically reach 40K a year. We're going to go to the calculator in just a moment. If you have time to stick around, Carl.
Well, you know my take on this. I would like for this live to be fully about, hey, if I do this, what does this look like? I
Okay.
have no problem transitioning to the calculator right now. I don't.
Okay, well, yeah,
But it's
we can
totally up
do
to
that
you.
and then come back.
Absolutely.
But they have another question.
Yes,
Can
yes.
he do a 1035 exchange with one of his whole life policies? That's two separate
Hell
questions, so
yeah.
I wanted to just put that in there.
So let's talk about that real quick. And for those who don't understand, what Carl is saying is, hey, I've got this life insurance policy that I don't know if it's serving me. Is there a way that I can move this life insurance policy that I have into a SKIA, a secure compound interest account that may be structured better that will allow me to be able to produce income? Is there a way to move that cash value life insurance policy that I have into another vehicle? And you are 100% correct. A 1035 is how you would do that. Now, what's the point or purpose of a 1035? Let's say you have cash value in that whole life policy. I'll throw a number. Let's say 30 grand of cash value that you haven't used that is sitting there. You can, if you were to cancel that policy, withdraw that $30,000, you're going to be taxed. Well, actually, you're going to be taxed off the difference between what you've contributed and what it's grown to. So you won't be taxed on the basis. You'll only be taxed on the growth. But the moral of the story is you'll be taxed because you cancel that product. You lose the tax advantages of that product. Well, how do you keep the tax advantages of the product? You do a 1035 exchange. If any of my viewers out there understand real estate, it's similar to a 1031 exchange. With a 1035 exchange, you absolutely can take this whole life policy, move it into a secure compound interest account, that death benefit you're moving over, that cash value you're moving over, and there's no tax liability. So can you? And again, that's a long way to say yes, you can, but absolutely you can. I appreciate that. Right. Yeah, I told you, like, I am fine with abandoning, because the message here, again, let me just restate the message in case we never get back to it. Let me just restate the message. The message is this: understand the difference between investment accounts and savings accounts. You are being told a lie if you believe your IRA, your traditional retirement account, is a savings account. Because it's tied to the market, it involves risk. Because it involves risk, there is a potential there you will end in retirement with not enough to retire. It's just a fact. So the goal is, what can I do with these dollars to take control? What can I do with these dollars to self-direct and move them into a vehicle that allows me to reduce the risk? And I'm not naive. I didn't say eliminate the risk. I'm saying reduce the risk. Reduce the risk such that you're not getting 2/3 eaten up from fees. You have more control over what you can invest in. So that is the message. So if we don't get back, that's the message that I want left. Okay. All right. So let's jump in. Give me an age. Okay. Okay. And this is a consistent theme. So let's talk about anyone from my age forward. I'm 50 years old, my age forward. What we don't have that our 20-year-old children have is compound cycles, additional compound cycles. We have a select few. We were all born with about 15. At my age, I've got about three or four, maybe five left. At 63, you've got maybe three, four, maybe five left. It just depends on how long you work and how old you are. So what does that mean? That means we have to be very realistic on the amounts that we contribute. I will absolutely put 63 a year in for the next, I think it was 6 years or whatever that number was, not a problem. But I just want to make sure this is clear. And most of the clients that I have who are older than me understand this, and that is what we're talking about is supplemental income. We're talking about income that in addition to what we currently have, we're talking about income on top of Social Security, whatever our traditional retirement accounts are. So most are realistic around the fact that I'm not talking about being able to produce a six-figure income in 6 years. It's what in addition can I do based off the money that I have. So 63 years of age. And what was it 6 years or 9? I can hear you. I don't know who else can or can't, but I can hear you.
Myself out of this scene, it takes my audio, whereas some of the other things that we have, I still have my audio in there. So you can hear me, but they can't hear me.
And I think that speaks to that whatever that live was when Jalen brought me some water, and I'm sitting here responding to your questions, but it looks like I'm just talking to myself. So it's all
Yeah.
good.
That
Hey,
was that yeah, that was exactly it. Okay,
how about this? But my camera hasn't frozen.
that's right. A win is a win.
Man, I'll take it. So, and again, so it was $6,000 a year. Did he get? I thought it was a short period of time that he wanted, and I'm gonna assume it was he wants to put $6,000 a year for 6 years. Is the way I think it was said. It was stated. So, $6,000 a year for 6 years. So in 6 years he would be 69. So what does $6,000 a year look like? $6,000 a year or $6,000 a month?
No, it was hold on, let me pull it back up. It was 6,000 for 6 years. And what contribution amount would enable him to theoretically reach 40K a year?
Yep.
So, what would 6,000 for 6 years do? But then
Yep.
also, what would he
What would it
have to
take to get to
do?
40K?
Yep.
Got it. Got it. So $6,000 a year, 6,000 divided by 12 is $500 a month. So $500 a month. And again, when I talk about secure compound interest accounts, you hear me say 10 times your age is that minimum. So $500 a month is less than that. But what does it look like for $500 a month, $6,000 a year for the next 6 years? What does that produce? Or over time, over that 6 year period, that would produce a cash value nest egg of right around $35,000. My assumption is that is not enough. About $3,000 a year is what that income would look like. But what are your other vehicle options? If you put that same $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA, what does that look like? At a minimum, it's better than that. But notice the Roth IRA still has more. The Roth IRA has 57,000 in it to the 35,000 sitting in a vehicle like this. What is the difference? The reason that $6,000 a year doesn't do as much as maybe another vehicle or a younger person is the cost of insurance. We are purchasing a life insurance product here. And that life insurance product is based off your health and your age. And there's a certain cost to you being older than, obviously someone younger than you. There's an additional cost to that. And it's that additional cost that doesn't allow this to grow the way it needs to. But the other question was, then, okay, what would it take for me to be able to get to $40,000 a year? Well, the first is time. I'm going to say it would absolutely take more time. But what does that dollar amount look like? And from that, we can just play around. And with someone 63, my assumption is those of us who are of age, most of us have other vehicles we could use to invest, meaning we have other assets that may be available to liquidate to be able to produce more income quickly. So as a 63-year-old, if the objective is to get income as quickly as possible, the thought process is there an injection of cash that can be made? Meaning, is there an opportunity? And again, I am not saying this gentleman's in a position to be able to do that. I'm just saying if you were in a position to dump in a one-time lump sum of $100,000. I just want to show you what the short period of time, 63 to 69, what a dump in of $100,000 would do as it relates to income. It's not much, but you give this money time. Maybe it's not 69, maybe it's 75. You give this money time, 33,000 at the age of 65, at the age of 75, after putting a one-time lump sum in and still doing that $500 a month can absolutely get you closer to that $40,000 a year tax-free. So what did we learn here? What we learned is, hey, if I'm older, if I can put in a lump sum, this is the best time to be able to do so because I get more money working for me faster. And then the second thing we learn is we have to give our money time. And 6 years is really not enough in a vehicle like this. And that's one of the drawbacks. That's one of the negatives of a secure compound interest account is it does take time. But there's a caveat to this as well. Maybe you have insurable interest. Maybe the 6-year-old has grandkids. Maybe the 6-year-old can fund policies for their kids and do this exact same act. So 63 to 75 is 12 years. What if that 63-year-old had a 30-year-old son that they ended up putting this money, having the trust start a policy for their 30-year-old and allowed the same 12 years? 12 years would be 42. The same $100,000, same $500 a month, although the individual that the policy is being done on is younger, produces $43,000 tax-free for life. So just taking the same approach on someone who is younger means the cost of insurance is less, and therefore the income produced is more. So I can't give you an exact, because there's many different things I can do to play with these numbers. But the short of it is, if you are up in age, the thought process is there a lump sum that can be injected to be able to produce the income that you're looking for? And the other piece is time. You have to give your money time.
So Ricardo asked, how do I go about start a compound security account, and do I need large or small amount?
So Ricardo, it's by individual, meaning you have choices. It really depends on your age, your income, and your capability of what it is you're able to do. But how do you go about it? I'm that guy. It is really just simply putting time on the calendar, and we walk through what this process looked like. But let me just high level give you an overview. Once we identified what you're wanting to contribute, it's as simple as applying. And that application process is either 11 minutes or it's 30 minutes. The 11-minute process means you're going through accelerated underwriting. The 30-minute process means I'm just asking you more questions, which takes more time. But once we apply, and it costs nothing to apply, once we apply, we send that application over to the underwriters. I am not an underwriter. The life insurance company we work with is Mutual of Omaha. Google them. You'll see that I work with a #1 rated life insurance company, been around since before the Great Depression, and they aren't going anywhere. So once you apply, it goes over to the underwriters. The underwriters assess whether or not you're healthy enough to be able to have a secure compound interest account. And if you are, they're going to make you an offer. That offer is going to be based off what you decided to contribute. It's not what I decide. It's not what they decide. If you wanted to open up a secure compound interest account, it's based off what you have asked for. Now, as I mentioned, that minimum is right around 10 times your age. But other than that, the maximum is up to your income. Meaning the max that you can contribute into an account like this is up to the income that you have on an annual basis. So in essence, there's really no limit. If you can make it, you can contribute to it. And once they assess your age, your health, and whether or not you're a viable candidate for a product like this, they're going to make you an offer. That offer costs you nothing. Let's say you accept that offer. Accepting that offer costs you nothing. The only cost to you is when you are ready to fund your account. In this case, if it was $100,000 one time and $500 a month, the minute you sent your wire for your lump sum, and the minute the EFT deducted the $500 a month in that first month, you now have a secure compound interest account for the next 12 months. And every 12 months, you and I would meet to review what's happening inside of your account. And let's say we review it and you decide, you know what, instead of $500 a month, I want to dump in $1,000. Okay, we'd make that adjustment. Otherwise, the enrollment period closes and we move on. Man,
okay, we got more questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Can you contribute on a weekly basis, or is it better to do lump sum or monthly?
I just
Great
had this
question,
conversation.
Jeanette.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had this conversation with a gentleman who is probably on the live now, but he had met with me this afternoon around a secure compound interest account. He asked me the exact same question. He gets paid biweekly. So the question was, can I contribute biweekly? And here's the short answer to that question. You can contribute monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Let's say you're contributing monthly, but you want to contribute weekly. Then what you do is whatever the account is, the direct debit is coming out of, you contribute weekly to that account. And then monthly, life insurance company is going to take whatever that amount is and apply it to your account. So you can contribute to your account on a weekly basis. It just won't be deducted from your account until whatever the date of the month is that you choose.
Okay,
Hey,
Lolo,
Lolo.
she always has such great questions. Thank you for tuning in again and welcome back. How is the income from the MPI tax free? Also, a
Yes.
great question.
Yep. So anyone who is offering a cash value life insurance product to you, anyone, if you ever hear them say you can withdraw income from your cash value life insurance policy, run. So, cash value life insurance products have some innate um, um, tax advantages. And it starts with the reason is the money you're contributing into vehicles like this is income that you've already paid taxes on. Meaning, this dollar amount right here is not pre-tax dollars. This is after-tax dollars, meaning it's a liquidated asset that you got $100,000 from and you injected it. The $500 a month is coming from your income or your savings or your checking. Or moral of the story is you've already paid taxes on that dollar amount, and as a result, the income that's growing inside of this is growing tax-free, meaning you've contributed 172,000. The leverage that's used, you're making on average 3% on that. So these $2 amounts is what gives you this cash value. Because the accumulation has been happening tax deferred. How do you maintain that? I'm sorry, not tax deferred. It's been growing tax free. How do you maintain that tax free status when you take income? Well, the way you maintain that tax free status is you never withdraw a dollar amount from this cash value. Meaning this $43,000, if we were to do math, let's just call it 11%. What we're saying is you can take a distribution of 11% from this dollar amount. Therefore, this 11% is tax free. Distribution means you're borrowing against your cash value. So that $43,000 is a borrowed amount. Again, your 361,000 is making on average 13%. If you borrow 11% from that 13%, all you're doing is living off the arbitrage, meaning the borrowed amount is being paid back by the growth. So the other question is, if I'm borrowing from my cash value, shouldn't I have to pay that back? Well, if you're borrowing less than you're making, what you've made, meaning the interest that you make off this dollar amount, pays for the amount that you're taking as income, and therefore you can take it for life. So think of this as a 401k. Any of you have ever had a 401k with your job or 403b or TSP, and you borrowed money from your 401k to be able to pay for your home or pay a bill or buy a car or whatever. When you borrowed that money from your 401k, did you owe taxes on that? The answer is no. You do not owe taxes on leveraged money. You do not owe taxes on money you take distributions from. Now, there is interest accrued. But I go back to, because you're taking less than you make, that interest that accrued or that money that you would think you'd owe, you don't owe because you're making more than you're taking. So the short of it is, how is the money tax free? It's because you're leveraging the money, you're borrowing money from yourself, and borrowed money there's no tax on borrowed money.
Yep. Great answer. Okay. Can you make a lump sum per year or does it have to be at the starting line?
So for that, I'll speak to what we actually currently do.
Oh,
I'm an
wait.
entrepreneur. Go ahead.
Wait, hold on one second because he has a comment coming up and I know you're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. He said, I'm about to HELOC plus velocity my retirement account.
Look, do to them what they've been doing to you. That mortgage that you're paying, what's the bank doing? They're leveraging your mortgage, loaning it back to you, and making a spread. That's what the bank is doing to you. So why not do the same thing to them? Why not leverage your equity in your home to be able to put yourself in a much more favorable retirement position? We hokey pokeying again.
I don't know why it does this. I click remove me from the scene. You can see it's removing and then it brings me back like it's a ghost, it's a bug or something.
But
That's
I'm
why
so cold that I can just keep flowing though. Even though we playing hokey pokey, never miss a beat.
Yeah, just keep going, whatever I'm doing. They just let anybody use these live stream programs these days, clearly. I need to get them instructions out or something.
So what I was kind of mentioning with the gentleman is I'm an entrepreneur, which means my income fluctuates. So if our contributions to our MPI plan was a consistent amount every month, not every month is the same. And so therefore, not saying that we couldn't do it, but still, I don't want the stress. I don't want the stress of a consistent dollar amount that I have to be worried about every month, knowing that my income fluctuates. So what you said was, can you put a lump sum in every year? I say what you're saying is, can you apply a annual premium? So rather than calling it a lump sum every year, all you're saying is, can I contribute to my secure compound interest account annually, one time per year? Well, what does one time per year do for you that contributing monthly does not? Let's use a dollar amount. Let's use $10,000. $10,000 one time every year means in January that $10,000 is growing as it relates to in January that $10,000 is growing in the general fund. In February, that 10,000 plus the growth in January is growing in the general fund. In March, that 10,000 plus the growth from January and February is growing in the general fund, meaning dollar cost averaging, meaning the $10,000 is being used throughout the year and is growing throughout the year versus $833 a month. $10,000 divided by 12 is $833. $833 is making you a certain dollar amount in January. 1667 in February is making you a certain dollar amount. So it's compounding. It's dollar cost averaging. It is growing over time, but which one is better? And now it's just math. In the long run, it doesn't matter. But you do have the ability to apply a lump sum every year. That's just simply you making annual premiums. Man, it takes me a long time to say words. Wow.
Yeah,
It's a lot. It's a lot.
and it's taking me out. Make up your mind. Jeez,
Hey,
oh
sweetheart.
Pete. Okay, we have a text that came in.
Yes.
So
What?
if you guys saw that, I'll put it back up if you want to run your numbers, but you don't want to
Yeah.
put your stuff in the chat. Or we have TV viewers, people who watch us on their TV, and obviously there's no chat there. So this is a great way for you to just screenshot that. We'll add a QR code later if you guys if that's valuable to you, and then you can just text us there. Also, if you've already opted in for the free resources, you already got the number. So all you have to do is reply, and then that'll come straight through to us. Okay,
And the
moving on.
producer is so cold because in the midst of dealing with all of the comments and stuff, you're also watching that to identify if people are putting their numbers in the chat. So, man, kudos to you to kind of just spin all of those plates because all I'm doing is saying words.
Well, here's the thing. This is an emotional topic. And for a lot of people, like one thing I learned just in people reaching out to me and connecting with me, and I really appreciate when people share their experience watching us with us so that we can learn. Are there things that we can do to get better? Are there things that we can stop doing, right? That are kind of annoying or make it hard to watch or make the experience uh, you know, not so great. We want to know those things. One thing that was said to us was, hey, I want to be able to watch you guys because I like you guys. It's just that I don't like where I am at financially. And it makes me feel bad every time you go live. And I want to watch you and I want to support you and I want to learn. It's just that it brings up for me where I am financially and I don't like how I feel.
Man, let's peel that back.
Well,
Because I get
well,
it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, hold on. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because if I had to watch, like, for me, weight loss, I watch workout videos all the time. Is it because I'm working out along the video? No, it's not me. I'm not doing that. And when I see all these fit girls in the workout videos, I'm like, if you would get your butt up and do what's in the video, then you would, look different. You think you feel different too. I just that feeling of I know I need to change something, but it feels so overwhelming in this moment. It feels like, losing whatever the goal is. It feels so big right now that even just tuning in to learn about it feels insignificant. It feels just like I'm carrying all the weight at once versus I'm getting snack size bites, right?
Yep. Yep.
What I hope is that people will feel more at home here and to share us with other people who want those snack size bites, who want to say, hey, every week I am making a date with the Stidhams, right? It's like a family meeting. You bring your family, we're here, and we're all meeting up Wednesdays and Sundays to just talk about things so we can level up, so we can all learn. We started this Facebook group not because we were like, hey, want to join our Facebook group? We started this Facebook group because other people in the chat and other people watching were like, you know what? We would like to meet other people who are on the same journey as us because this feels lonely. We don't know a lot of people who are on the same journey, but if we could go to a place where other people are also on the same journey, that would be kind of dope. So that's why we started the group so we could have that kind of support in there because that's what you guys asked for. We think it's amazing. So this is not us leading. We are leading and we need other people to learn so that we can they each one teach one, right? We have some people who understand these concepts strongly, who watch us and comment and contribute. We have people who jump in the chat and they are answering questions for people because they get it.
Yeah.
We have to all rise together and stop some of these cycles that continue to repeat because it is heavy. And when you can show somebody else, look, you do a couple reps, it's not heavy anymore. But if you have to stand the glass of water theory, if you have to stand there and hold a glass of water, at first you're like, no, it's not heavy. You hold it out for 10, 15 minutes, just like this, it gets really heavy. And the only thing that people remember is this glass is heavy, right? They don't think that by having good habits or the repetition that it would get lighter over time and easier to manage because regardless it's not going away. There are things that we just have to do regardless, and knowing how to do them, having strategies that help you sleep better at night helps us make other decisions too. I could keep going down this rabbit hole, but you had something you wanted to say.
No, no. I think what you're saying is perfect. And here's the thing for me. The last thing I want to do is make anyone feel as though the decisions that they've made are wrong, because they're not. The decisions that we've made in life were based off the information we have at the time. Show me who is peeling back the layers on the information that you've received and telling you, you know what? I know I've been telling you this all your life, but you know what? I was lying to you. And that would be no one. No one's doing that. And
Right.
so throughout my journey, throughout our journey, what we have just learned is not everyone has my back. And it is my purpose in life to just share that with you. And one of my mentors drew a triangle on a piece of paper one day, and it was an upside down triangle, meaning the base
You
is
want to
at the
draw
top.
it?
Okay,
Yeah, no, that's what
okay,
we have the board for.
you're right. You're right.
Okay, let
Here,
me
let's come
find
over
it.
here.
Here we go.
Yep. So, my mentor drew an upside down triangle, and it looked like this. I don't like that. Let's go back. Let's make it bigger. Looks like this. And what he said was, you want results? Are you looking to be able to get results? Well, he goes, you can listen to me all day long because here's what I'm going to do for you. And again, the goal is results. The objective is results. If you want results, here's what I can do. I can give you, I will not charge a dime, and I will provide to you the right knowledge. I will give away what the right vehicles are. Again, you want results. You can have the right knowledge and you can have the right vehicle. But in order for you to achieve those results, it has to be the right you. We can talk about velocity banking secure compound interest accounts, self-directed retirement plans, infinite banking all day long. We can share this knowledge and we can talk about what those vehicles are all day long. But if you want results, the challenge to achieving the right results is the right you. It's you. And how do you get there? What is that transition that you personally have to take in order to be able to achieve those results? And so again, the equation looks like this. For the results, it equals the right knowledge plus the right vehicle plus the right you. This is how you achieve results. And the question, and what I'm hoping is when we're having these discussions, it becomes easier to be able to peel back the layers on what are those challenges you're having. Because here's the piece that I love about my wife. What she is going to do is she's going to ask the question of why is it that way? Meaning, I'll give you the mathematical equation. I'll share with you what the vehicles are, and I will break down why we weren't given the knowledge, like who's benefiting from us not having the knowledge to begin with. Right knowledge, right vehicle. But what she man helps me do, and what I'm hoping you are getting the sense of as well, is when you ask the right questions, help you understand what is it about me that's preventing me from even taking that step. Because the truth is that conditioning is so rooted. It's the conditioning that is preventing me from moving beyond this. You can call it fear. You can call it hesitation. There's many labels you can place on it, but the moral of the story is it's you. And so my ask is, even if you're not taking action, sit and listen, because this right knowledge, along with these right vehicles, will still get you the right results. All we're waiting on is the right you. Were there any
That was
other? Go
that
ahead.
was that was some poetry right there. I'm going to give it to you because it's true. But if we don't hear it from a source that's impactful, often it's just words in the wind.
And I go back to these are just words. That's the
Yeah.
reason I again, this does not feel like work. I am not a fan of social media, but this does not feel like work. It absolutely feels like purpose. And I do believe it's my job to give the right knowledge, give the right vehicle. I can't fix you. I cannot give that part, but I can do my part. And so whether you participate in the chat or not, whether you take action and change your situation, what you cannot say is you were not told. What you cannot say is these people gate kept this information and didn't share. What you cannot say is we didn't do our part. And again, I think there's other people that I hope we start introducing into this live, like Cortland and some other people, to kind of assist in peeling back some of those layers around how do you become the right you. So we'll get there, but first it's about what is it that I'm missing. Go ahead.
Oh, he was saying Angelique did that to me in a clubhouse room, changed my perspective. So thankful. And what's kind of crazy about what he said is there's so many people that just found me to be extremely annoying. They were talking about how to hustle, how to make passive income, affiliate marketing. They were talking about all these different ways of making money, and I'm like, what are you doing with it though?
Right.
What
Right.
are you what's the plan? How long do you think that you can do this particular type of job, like the creator income and all these different things that people were getting paid for? And I was like, and then what? And they were like, and then when what like who cares? And so then they started
What's the
learning that,
goal?
right, they started learning that they're constantly going to chase hustles to, and the lifestyle. I think Ted was making the point earlier about keeping up with the Joneses. It's easy right now to say, "Oh, I made an extra $10,000 on this side hustle or whatever," and now you have put that into your lifestyle. I've upgraded my lifestyle because hey, it was a side hustle, right? Like I can do that now. Versus playing a long game, because the only person you're shorting by playing the short game is yourself.
Right.
And I'm saying this knowing damn well that I was raised in a household and raised in a family who was not long game players.
Man.
They were not talking about any of this. Matter of fact, credit, money is the root of all evil. There were so many mindset things, and my relationship with money was just extremely poor. And I had no clue that that was what was actually happening in my business. That was actually what was happening with my relationship. Even when I went, in having a relationship with somebody else, your beliefs about everything come out, including yourself, right? And when I'm out here talking to other people, it is so hard to tell, like, I'm sure everybody watching here has talked to somebody about some of this stuff. Because if you're watching, you're interested, which means at some point somebody said something and you were like, hey, I'm aware that this is a problem and this should be important. So I'm going to mention that you should be aware, right? And they look at you and they're just like, that's killing my vibe. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. And it becomes very difficult. Sometimes you just can't save people from themselves. But don't let you go down. And then you have the excuse of, why I didn't make it was because I couldn't get them on board.
Right.
Why I couldn't make it was because why we couldn't be successful was because of somebody else, when you can push forward and you can do you today, starting today.
And I think that's a part of also my to bring this kind of full circle, these articles that we kind of talked through at the beginning. If you were to sum those articles up, it's about the house is on fire. Like, I don't know what's going on, but let me just let you know the house is on fire. But no one's saying these are some steps you can take to put the fire out. We would much rather you focus on the fact that the house is on fire and jump into these rooms or jump into your social media feed to kind of just exacerbate the issue that, yes, the house is on fire. Who is talking about how to put the fire out? Where are the solutions? And are there safe spaces available for us to kind of actually talk through the solutions? Because you don't know what you don't know. So can I raise my hand and say, hey, is it possible if I take these actions, with those help? And rather than you being called out your name or put in a position to where you are somehow inferior because you don't know, man, where are the safe spaces where we can actually have these discussions? And I swear to you, I hope that's what this is,
Right.
what you're seeing this as. This is a safe space where, again, I am sharing with you what I've learned. I'm not preaching to you. I'm not telling you this is what you should do. I am walking you through what we are actually doing.
Right.
And the objective is, I would love to hear what you're doing. Or, man, ask me questions about how you can incorporate what we're doing into what you're doing. Like that, this is absolutely a safe space. There are no wrong answers here. You don't know what you don't know. And I'm confident there are some things that I still have to learn. So
That
I
part.
so I'm open to it as well. I am not closed-minded. I do not believe my answers are the only answers.
Okay, and I've said this before too, but how dope would it be that somebody just watching this live stream is like doing the math on what we've, like, where we're at in our journey to this point, right? And then they step in there like, wait a second, did you think about this? Because I
Man.
see this opportunity here. Maybe you guys didn't see this opportunity. And they just add like another piece to the puzzle. We're adding pieces to their puzzle. You guys are adding pieces to our puzzle. And it's just wins on wins on wins.
This is
How does
community.
that suck?
Yeah, this is community.
Yeah.
This is community.
And I think that's how it happens. If you think about different cultural practices too, that's essentially why certain cultures have their wealth has stayed in and been passed on from generations, because they become like these systems of masterminds in a sense, and it's leveraging other people, your mind, your service, your strength, your whatever it is. You're bringing your best gifts forward to all serve, so everyone is not starting from zero, like dog eat dog for every single person from the beginning. That's what we've become essentially. Some families are still very much that way, so it's not everybody, but the American way of life is very me for myself. I'm going to go out there, kick them out when they're 18 and hope you can make it, right? And go figure it out. And then the other side of that is I want to leave when I'm 18 because I want to go figure it out for myself, and my independence and my freedom and my ability to spend my money the way that I want to, it means a lot to me. That is super valuable, and they're willing to pay for it. Well, now they don't have the careers or the income to be able to pay for that. So then what?
Right.
Well, the parents weren't prepared for that either. So these expenses, everything's getting more expensive, and we're going, well, okay, well, that worked for people in the 90s, but it is not working today, that same concept. So now what do? There's no handbook, right? And I think that there are things that we have done right. There are things we can see where people have done things in the right way. We can see where people have won by banding together. It's the proof is everywhere, right? You could list a whole probably a list of we could do a whole art series just on that, where people band together and they brought their best gifts forward, and they brought all of their mental power, not even just their financial power, but that too, right? And what happens when people band together? So that's where we are. We're family. Get in here, invite somebody, bring your friends,
Can
bring
you
them all.
bring up can you bring up Wendy's comment? It's weird. I see some, and then I see, like, I don't know why I can see hers and I can see everybody. I can't
Yeah,
see
we have
everybody
some
else's.
questions too, so I want to get to those.
No problem. I want to say this as well. Um, I am 100% aware that in my culture, people who look like me, finance is not a discussion that you have at the kitchen table. It is not. And I think what I am focused on is rewriting what the American dream looks like. And in addition, rewriting what these discussions inside the household look like. I am confident there are hundreds of people from my neighborhood that are watching this live and refuse to say anything. And it's because we come from a culture where this is taboo. It's none of your business what's going on with my financial situation. It is intentionally kept away. But who does that serve? It's not serving us. Meaning, I should be learning from you. This should not be a fraternity where I have to go through these trials and tribulations, bump my head, trip, fall, go into bankruptcy, become in debt, so that you can go, man, you should have came over here and said something because I could have helped you through that. Where were you when I was going through it? But we are not conditioned, we are not trained, we are not educated to be able to have these discussions because somehow it makes me look or feel inferior. And again, the objective is to create a space where we can absolutely have these discussions. And I don't care what the discussion is. And again, hopefully it's a topic that maybe I don't know so that we can, get the subject matter experts in here to be able to educate me as well because I am here to learn.
Man, and I get a lot of heat in the comments when I say that I hate math, when I say I don't prefer to do math, it does not bring me joy. If I'm going to Marie Kondo something out of my life, it would be math. I don't wake up in the morning and like, you know what I'm in the mood for? Math. Never has happened, probably never will happen. And people come for me in the comments and they're like, it's not math, it's money. It's not that hard. Or maybe she should take some classes, some math classes so she can stop saying that. But here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to pretend to be something that I'm not. That's first and foremost. Secondly, I think I'm not the only one who feels like this.
Right.
I think we give ourselves permission going, not that I was bad at math when I was in math classes, any type of algebra, college. Like I have 3 degrees. I had to take math and pass those classes. So it's not like I can't do math. It's I don't enjoy it. And there's a reason why I don't enjoy it. And part of that, no different than my relationship with money, right? Was also tied to my relationship with math and what those experiences were like for me. So while I'm on my healing journey with numbers and math, I mean, let's be honest though, it is like a healing journey to fix this kind of mental wound when it comes to a topic or subject. Money is like that for a lot of people. And for a lot of people, it's no different than math. You can look, I can put on all of this makeup and wear a dress, you know, I can be looking cool with my, because I have my fan. Nobody knows, right, that it's 140 degrees outside, and if I step outside, I will look like melted caramel. It's not even going to be that attractive. We can do things to make it look and seem like conditions are different, right? You don't know that I'm hot and I need this fan because you can't hear it, you can't see it. It's out of the scene. We do that with our lifestyles. We say, "Okay, well, you can't see what my bank account looks like. You can't see what my conditions are because it looks this way." There's no gotcha moment. There's no well, girl, I thought you had money. Like, oh, now you need help. There's nothing like that. We literally don't care. We want people to win so bad, and we just hope that what we can do is we can drop all of that, especially the pride and the ego around this topic, because it never gets better unless it gets healed.
Watch it, Ted.
Well, it's 140. Maybe that's what he meant.
Let's get into the
Yeah.
questions. Let's get into the
Okay.
questions.
And I think maybe he meant on fire too. You know, could be a lot of things. Ted, you guys can throw compliments out to us.
Yeah, I am totally kidding.
Okay, so we do have some questions. I'm gonna go up since
Yeah, no
I have
problem.
to scroll up
And if
anyway.
if you are wanting me to jump back over to the calculator and run numbers, here's what I think as it relates to the rest of the content that I have to cover. We will pick this up on Wednesday. So I don't have an issue not going back, so we can jump back into the calculator. If we just want to answer questions and or there comments that we want to go through, we can go through that. And I think this is been a I think we've learned something. Hopefully we learned something here, and we can kind of close this down here as well. And so therefore, and I'll pick up with the rest on Wednesday.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so you are the owner of the policy, so you control it.
So
And
go ahead.
hold on, because we got a lot of questions, so you got to move fast. So I'm going to stack two together that I know go together.
Always giving me feedback. Okay.
If you, okay, so then there's Amaya. So how does it work if we fund our IUL using a younger family member instead of ourselves because we are older? And I think that's where you own the policy, so those two things would go together for sure.
That's the answer. If you want to move on to that, because
Oh,
that is the
yeah.
answer. Meaning, if you are funding the policy for now, there are rules. What do it's about insurability. If we're talking about you as the parent owning a policy on your child, you have to have life insurance before you can insure your adolescent child. You think of it as you're on a plane and the plane is going down and the oxygen masks fall out of the ceiling. What does the stewardess tell you? Put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on your child. So you cannot insure your child if you don't have insurance. And now that can be any insurance. That can be any life insurance. But you're right. When you do a policy on your child, you own that policy. You have the ability to give it back to them at some point or keep it forever. And the death benefit is on that child. Yes, go ahead.
Ted brings up a good point, though, especially for this topic around a trust. Because if you, even though you own the policy on your child, and they may also be well,
Beneficiary.
yeah. However, well, I was going to say that, but then how are they a beneficiary of
Yep.
their own?
So I think I understand where this is going. A lot of times people say, hey, don't leave assets to your kids in your will. Because what ends up happening is you're leaving the tax burden to them. So how do you avoid probate? How do you avoid these issues? Ted is spot on with the trust. The key is you should own nothing. The trust should own everything. You being the owner of the trust, you being the beneficiary of the trust. But then when you're not here, that beneficiary or that ownership then transposes or translates to your child or whoever you design. But here's the cool part about that trust. If structured properly, now you are in a position to determine how the next 500 years of your legacy is going to be portrayed. Meaning the trust owns the policy. The trust is the beneficiary of the policy. So the trust is paying the premiums on the policy. As income is generated, the trust distributes that income, whether it's to you, your family, whatever the case may be. When you pass, the death benefit rolls back up to the trust. And then when people are born, as your kid has kids and grandkids and great grandkids are born, the trust buys policies on those newborns, and the trust owns those policies. As income is generated, the trust distributes income, meaning this becomes a machine that all it does is distribute income. And therefore, when people pass, there's no probate, there's no tax liability, there's no, you're not putting your family in a position to where now all of a sudden they owe something because the trust owns this. It's this entity that has all of the flexibility. And again, because you who created the trust determined how the next 500 years, what the next 500 years looks like, you've determined whether or not prenups need to be in place. You've determined whether or not someone has to have graduated from school to be able to receive income. You get to determine it all. What if your child is an adult? Depends on the age. I think you can own a policy on your child if they are 24 years or younger. 24 years or older, you can fund the policy, but you can't own the policy. So that's where you and your child have to have an understanding, especially if you're using this policy as supplemental income. You can fund the policy for your 25, 30, 35-year-old. And they understand that as income is generated, you are the one that needs that income. And then when you become later in life and you decide to pass that on to your child who is of age, you get to now receive that income. And all you have to do is continue funding that policy to continue to grow that income. Why are you smirking? What's up?
Because they want to see you show them what you're talking about.
Give me
See?
some numbers.
Well, basically, I think what they're talking about was maybe the trust process. If
Show the trust process?
right, how things are owned inside. I think that's a good idea. I think we should definitely do that. So Wednesday we're gonna you know what? We could actually add it to what we have to finish for Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Show the pretty pictures. I love that.
Yeah, well, that's
Y'all are
that's
spoiled.
that's an important thing.
And you don't want to see my hand. Let's be 100% clear. You don't want to see my handwriting. You don't. You do. You do not.
Did we already do this one
So
with
how does it work
Amaya?
if we fund our IUL? Yes.
Okay. We got lots of comments, which is good. This one is a really good one. Sad that one article tells you that there's a retirement crisis, but the next article says that you need to buy a new $1,000 cell phone every couple of years when your current phone is
Conditioning.
perfectly fine.
Conditioning. And again, who
Bars.
benefits? Who benefits?
Yeah.
Right? Why are these things this way? Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Okay, so then there's oh, and thank you guys so much for tuning in and for being active in the chat. Not to say that other people who can't be active, because some people are turning their
Watching on
phone,
TV. Yeah, there's
yeah,
all
or
sorts of
they're
people. Yeah.
watching on their phone to see what you're talking about, and you can't use the chat when you're turned that way. So there's a lot of reasons why they can't. Oregon says, saddest thing, when my mom was losing the battle with Alzheimer's, most of her last conversations were around paying bills. This is why I am doing something different.
That is a stressful position to be in, right?
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I'm working with a gentleman right now. Is his main goal is to make sure his kids are not left with a burden. Like that is his only objective. He's fine. If he retired tomorrow, he would be just fine. But what keeps him awake at night is knowing this home that he lives in is not paid off, and if something happens to him, that burden is now going to be left on his kids. So his main objective is to make sure that burden is there. I would love for his main objective to be, man, where's my drink? Because these waves are crashing too loud. Like the focus should be on something other than are all the bills paid. Like, and that is the whole point and purpose of what we're talking about here. How
Right.
do we put ourselves in a better position so that we can achieve our goals, so that we could all be on some beach somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we do have some questions, and then we had some figures come in through the text to
Okay.
go back to the calculator.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think all the questions that we have now, um, well, we'll ask this last one before we go head back over to the calculator. So, so it's best to pay down debt via velocity banking to cut the interest before you start a policy.
I think two things can be true at the same time. And everyone is different. If the debt is impacting your ability to have cash flow, then yeah, pay down that debt, get yourself in a better, more positive cash flow position, and go dump that cash flow into a secure compound interest account to start building wealth. But if you have the cash flow up front, should I dump all of my cash flow into this debt and then start? No, absolutely not. How does it go? How does the wealth equation go? Pay yourself first. And I don't really speak through the full wealth
Oh,
equation.
oh, we have it.
I know we do. I don't usually speak through the full wealth equation, but let's be clear. It's about paying yourself first before you pay a bill, before you do velocity banking, before you pay a debt. Pay yourself first. Somewhere secure. I'm sorry, pay yourself first, starting today, not tomorrow, starting today. So, not after you pay that debt, pay yourself first, starting today, put your money somewhere secure, get it compounding. And then you use leverage to supercharge it. That is the wealth equation. Pay yourself first, starting today, somewhere secure, compound your money, and then you use leverage to exponentially grow your money. And so it always starts with pay yourself first. So if you're in a position to put a certain dollar amount away so that you can start building money that you can leverage, absolutely do that first.
Okay, so, and Jeanette, that's another great question. So I'm going to bring you back over to the calculator. Well, while we're doing that, Carl has a question. Is the trust income to beneficiaries tax-free? Hold on, wait till we transition to answer.
Okay.
Now you go. Okay, now's the time.
Is the income generating from the trust tax free? Is that the question? I think it depends on how the money is growing in the vehicle that it's in. In a secure compound interest account, because that's producing generating tax-free income, absolutely. Any income from a secure compound interest account that is being distributed through the trust is absolutely tax-free. But if your Roth or if your traditional IRA is owned by a trust, if your traditional 401k is owned by a trust, any income distributed from that IRA, 401k, 403b, traditional, using traditional dollars, would be taxed. So it just depends on where the income is coming from that the trust is distributing. So do we have numbers to throw into the calculator?
Yep. Then we have a question. So I think bringing one up first would be better. So 35 years old, $5,000 lump sum, $650 a month, hoping to retire by age 59.
59. And here's what I love about the age 59 in general. It is still retiring early because most of your company retirement accounts, even though they say 59, it's usually age and points and these other criteria, which doesn't allow you to access your money at 59, even though that is 59 and a half is that retirement age. So I love that. And you said $5,000 lump sum and
Oh,
six.
650 a month, but
Yep.
but also that they're going to be raising the retirement age, and they're just going to continue to raise the retirement age until you have to be 70 delivering pizzas or whatnot. I mean, we better start all getting in good shape
True
because
story.
you know
So
how they going to make it.
35 to 59, putting a $5,000 lump sum in at $650 a month would produce $77,000 tax free for the rest of your life. And to break down what that looks like, you would have an asset worth 703,000, meaning this is liquid. Meaning if you needed this 703,000, you needed 100,000 to build your dream home. You wanted to buy a Tesla. You wanted to take $250,000 out to go build an apartment complex to be able to produce residual income. That is available with this $703,000 asset. But in addition to that, it's producing for you $77,000 tax free for life. And the initial death benefit off that $650 a month, on day one, you are purchasing a life insurance policy worth $370,000. So God forbid something happened to you on day one, your beneficiaries receive 370, but you live to that retirement age, and through that retirement age, we're talking about a $1.9 million death benefit that you would be passing on to your beneficiaries. That is generational wealth. That is how you create generational wealth. You do
Okay,
this
we have
exact same thought or exact same dollar amount inside another vehicle like a traditional retirement account, doesn't even compare.
Well,
Yes.
and now let's answer Jenny's question.
Mhm.
She says, I have a GMIB annuity with a base of 78K, now about 120K total. Should I contribute all I can afford to that or traditional 401k? I only have 2 years until retirement.
Yep. And what's interesting is I took my annuity test last night. And so I actually understand that whole sentence. Uh, I think not all vehicles are the same. So without understanding more as to how your annuity is structured, I think the short of it is what you don't want to do is get hit with all of the surrender charges associated with moving your money from that from that annuity elsewhere. So I think allowing that annuity to continue to build and grow over time, assuming that it's structured properly, I think is absolutely the right thing to do. Now, the second half of that, should you take some action on that to, if I understand it correctly, fund the four, I don't see it anymore, fund the 401k? Is that
Yep.
what
Yeah,
was
from the 401k.
so first off, not knowing how your annuity is structured, let's say your annuity is structured with after tax dollars, meaning the income being produced from that annuity is tax free. What you don't want to do is lose your tax advantaged annuity to be able to fund a 401k. But let's just talk about the 401k in general. If you were on earlier, what I was walking through was traditional retirement accounts are traditional retirement accounts are not they're investment strategies, not saving strategies, meaning a 401k on its own is not designed to produce income or not designed to produce wealth. It is an investment account that involves risk. Now, if you structure that 401k differently to remove the risk, you can absolutely put that 401k in a position that it would produce income for you. Would I liquidate an annuity to be able to fund that 401k? In my opinion, I am not a tax attorney. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not a financial advice. I'm absolutely providing you my opinion and my thoughts based off the information that I have. My opinion is I would absolutely not liquidate an annuity to be able to fund a 401k, mainly because it also depends on your risk tolerance. What are you going to do with that 401k? If you're taking that 401k and putting it in the market, absolutely not. You're taking that 401k and you're buying self storage, you're buying precious metals, you're buying apartment complexes outside of the market. There's an argument to be made, but because that annuity is guaranteed, the that GMIB is guaranteed. Because it's guaranteed, I would not give up guaranteed for risk. You're muted.
My my question is, did you mention, because I was reading something, did you mention that what you're talking about was a self-directed 401k versus a regular traditional 401k?
So I did speak through if you were referencing a traditional retirement account, how it's an investment account and not a savings account. And again, um, the structure. I didn't necessarily call out a self-directed 401k, but what I talked through was the structure. You structure that 401k differently that allows you to invest outside of the market. The only way you could invest outside of the market is to have a self-directed 401k. So thank you for that, because I did not call it out specifically, but I just talked through the structure of the 401k matters, what you're investing in matters, and if you do self-direct that 401k and you invest outside of the stock market in an apartment complex, land, REITs, subject tos, there's many different things you can invest in, and we got that list up there too.
Yeah, we were going to go over all that
Yeah,
tonight,
we'll
but
do
we're
it
going to save
Wednesday.
it for Wednesday.
Yep. But so if you were to put that money there, yes, you can beat the 4% rule. You can maybe do better than other types of investments. But would I bastardize an annuity to do so? The short answer to that question is still no.
And I would also want to know how much you're putting into your 401k, because what we were also going to talk about, based on this crisis and based on the fact that does not serve anyone to utilize these traditional tools beyond past what their actual use is for them. For instance, if you have a company match and this match is 3-4% or whatever it is, and it seems like free money, except for the vesting period doesn't make sense, or whatever those terms are that actually don't make sense, and it's not actually free money after you do an assessment to find out what would I actually have after contributing X amount of dollars into it. not just on this type of calculator though. I'm talking about if you have a new job, or if you're going to be quitting your job soon, you don't see yourself staying there for very much longer. It may not be free money if it's not vested. It seems like free money, but now you've just given a loan, a free loan to everyone else, and you're not actually getting anything but the tax reduction for your taxable income. So I would really do the math on what this looks like, and who me telling people to do the math. Okay, moving on. It does make sense though when you're looking at the long game. It's easier to look at and go, okay, well, what does this actually look like? Because none of us want to do something we think feels good now and then realizing like, holy cow, if I would have, you can't go backwards and you can't get your time back. So if I would have done something completely different, to your point about the triangle, you would have gotten a completely different result. That's the whole point. Okay, we got lots of questions. So this next one is from Bond Mister, came a while back and I think I almost missed it. So can you leverage money from your account and distribute that back into your lump sum to increase your annual payout over time?
Can you take the income and put it back into your policy is how I'm going to frame that. And the short answer to that question is yes. And again, this is about structure. If you're structured properly and structured correctly, absolutely, you can use the money the machine is making to put that money back into your policy to grow it. Just understand you're using leveraged money. So you're putting leveraged money back in to grow at a certain rate. The better result would be to leave the money there and allow it to do what it's doing, because of the structure, because you're adding leverage. Again, I'm answering this as though you've seen this many times. Because there's leverage involved, because you're using leverage to grow the amount inside of this policy, you could literally stop contributing at a certain point and your account will continue to grow because of how the leverage builds inside of the account. Because the leverage is exponentially getting bigger, whether you contribute or not, your account is still going to grow based off that leverage. What else we got, sweetheart?
Just somebody else telling me it's totally fine that I am have a weird relationship with math. So
That's why
thanks for
I'm
that,
here.
Wendy. I just want to put that on the screen for all the haters out there,
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
for
It's all
all
good.
my haters in the comments for this replay. Okay, let's see. Can you wait? Maybe he asked again because or is this different?
Let's see. Can you leverage or withdraw a chunk of money from your account, then invest that sum back into your account as a lump sum? Yeah, that's the question that we just answered.
Yeah, he was like, excuse me, can we get the question answered already? My bad.
Hmm.
Okay. Oh,
No, you're fine. I did get so I'll share this example with you. I was asked about a gentleman asked me in the one of the videos if I could run numbers for his kids, and his kids are, I think it was 24 and 26. So I used a 24-year-old, and the objective was, hey, if 24-year-old works, and so the thought process is for his 24-year-old, if I as the father dumped in $10,000 one time, and he maintained 10 times his age, which is 240 bucks a month, what would that look like by retirement age? So again, 240, 10 times age is 240 till age 50. I love the 59 because that's touching upon that retirement age. What does that look like? Again, 24 years of age, putting away $240 a month, and dad's contribution to that effort is a $10,000 one-time lump sum. We're talking $95,000 tax-free for life. So it's before the traditional retirement age, $95,000 tax-free for life. They have an asset worth $976,000. You do this exact same thing inside of an IRA or 401k. It's 28 grand a year taxed, and there's no option to be able to retire early. That is. So it's just this a properly structured secure compound interest account is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
yeah. Connie's asking, is this policy transferable?
So let's talk about what this is. You are purchasing a life insurance policy on yourself. So transferable can mean many different things. If you're saying, I'm doing a policy on my son, can I transfer ownership of that policy to my wife? Yes. Can I transfer ownership of that policy to the trust? Yes. If you're asking, can you transfer ownership of that policy outside of the insurable interest? No, you can't. So the short answer to that question is yes, it depends, I guess. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Ted's saying you have that life insurance owned by your family for that generational wealth, and
That's the
that's
trust.
yep,
That's the trust.
and that is the goal, right?
Yep.
Is to have something that can keep and continue to grow.
Here's the way this relationship should evolve. It may start with you are getting secure compound interest accounts on yourself. You're getting secure compound interest accounts on your wife, on your kids. But as this relationship evolves and you start to realize, man, this is a lot of money that's growing. You want a trust. Do you need a trust today? Probably not. But as this relationship evolve, as your accounts grow, you want the trust owning the policy. You want the trust being the beneficiary of the policy. Why? Now we're talking generational wealth. Right now, your 10-year-old may be the greatest in math, but that 30-year-old, 20 years later, maybe they aren't the best. And you don't want
Hey,
the results of this millions of dollars of growth to be in the hands of that 30-year-old. This is where you have the opportunity to lay out what this trust looks like and detail and dictate how the next 500 years looks. So therefore, if he marries the right person or the wrong person, it won't matter
man.
because the trust has protected your legacy.
Yeah, that's facts right there. Especially if you're building generational wealth, please believe that other people whose families are not building generational wealth won't really understand what it takes to do that, but they also want to understand how they're disassembling uh, that entity as well.
Absolutely. Could I open a secure compound interest account using my retirement dollars? And I understand, I think it said you have 4 years to retirement.
Yep, it's
So
Willie. Welcome back, Willie.
absolutely. So can you use qualified dollars, retirement? So whether that's 401k, IRA, 403b, TSP, government 457 plan, these are all what's considered qualified dollars. You can move qualified dollars between each other all day long, tax-free, penalty-free. Can you use qualified dollars to fund a life insurance product, regardless of whether it's a secure compound interest account like MPI or it's a whole life policy or whatever? Can you use qualified dollars to fund life insurance products? Under the tax code, you cannot directly move money from a qualified plan into a life insurance product. You would be taxed and penalized. But if you're 4 years from retirement, maybe you're already at retirement age, which means if you are already at retirement age, you have access to those funds without penalty. Now, you still owe tax, but you have access to those funds without penalty. If you have access to your retirement dollars without penalty, you can move those funds wherever you want. You can do whatever you want because you have the ability to control those funds. But can you put 401k dollars into a life insurance product? No, you cannot. Are there options for your qualified money to be able to put them into a better secure position? Like the comment that was made earlier, there are some very strong annuities out there that, again, there's a range of them. There's immediate income annuities, meaning I have, let me make up a number. I have $1 million in my 401k. I want to put that 401k in a position such that regardless of what happens with the market, my $1 million isn't impacted. And I disagree with the 4% rule. So I need more than 40 grand a year. You can dump that $1 million into an immediate income annuity and it can generate this. It would be a percentage. I don't want to throw out a percentage because I don't want it to seem as though it's the exact amount. But let's say it's somewhere closer to 8%, 9%, 7%, something better than the 4% rule, and you actually have immediate income, and that annuity is also growing over time, producing guaranteed income for life. There's many different vehicles, not many. There are vehicles out there that can put your qualified money in a better position compared to where it currently is tied to the market.
Okay, we have a few questions. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a few questions, but I wanted to say this, especially when it comes to the tax deferred dollars. The article that we first pulled up, do you mind pulling that back up to show them what it said? It's way at the top. It was around the burden on taxpayers in a decade from now because of where we are with the retirement crisis. This 13,000, I think it was 13.6 K
Yep.
is what
It's up.
they were. Okay, here we go. Yeah, and it was saying that,
I'll read it.
okay,
The reports that the additional taxpayer liability due to inadequate retirement savings will be about $13,600 per household. And again, I'll read it again. The additional taxpayer liability due to inadequate retirement savings will be about $13,600 per household. And ultimately, what that's saying is, because the country is in the state that it's in, expect your taxes to be more. So if you are younger than 50 and you have the opportunity to convert your retirement dollars to Roth, to put yourself in a better Roth environment, whether that's through a secure compound interest account that's producing tax-free income, or converting your qualified dollars into Roth, paying the tax now because you know the interest or you know what the tax rate is now, paying it now, converting
yes,
those dollars to Roth so that they're now growing in a tax-free fashion regardless of the vehicle. And again, I'm not saying that they should be in the market, but if they are, if there's an opportunity to convert those to Roth now, do it such that regardless of what happens in the future, regardless of what the tax rate is in the future, regardless of how households are being impacted in the future, I know my money's growing tax-free. So therefore, when I get there, the distributions that I'm taking are going to be tax-free distributions. That's how you get in front or beyond that. But was that the one that you wanted me to bring up? I just want to make sure because you're not on the screen, by the way.
yeah, and it's because for anybody who's considering, should I continue putting my money in a 401k? This is part of that math equation. This is part of that long game, knowing that taxes are only going to keep rising and that significantly. So if you remember, maybe you want to put it back up, that spike for inflation, how does that also not be a spike for our for tax rates as well, right?
Well, it all coincides, right? If
Yeah.
if the dollar is cheaper, if the dollar has been cheapened due to inflation, everything is more expensive.
So here's my
Eggs
point.
are more expensive.
Right.
Your
Here's my
taxes are more
point.
expensive. Go ahead.
If they're saying we will do a match at 3%, it doesn't matter. Whatever they say they're putting in alongside your dollar, it won't matter because your dollar and their dollar will not be as valuable. It won't mean anything. So you're still just parking pennies in an account that somebody else gets to, that is the income or the benefit for that, the reward is based off of someone else's performance because you still don't know what fees are being siphoned off of that. So that's what I'm saying right there is that sometimes maybe it makes sense to put those dollars in those 401ks or traditional systems, but maybe if you really start to look at what's about to happen, you go, heck no, I'm not putting my money in there, right?
Well, and what I hear you say is do the math because
Exactly.
I do have clients who have company retirement accounts that do 100% match, meaning every dollar you put in, they put in. 100% match is significant, but that 3, 5, 7, 10 mathematically, we can put it right here in the calculator. Let's say it's $500 a month for you inside of a secure compound interest account, but it's $500 a month plus a 10% match. 500, 10% of 500 is $50. So that's 550 a month instead of 500 a month. Whether it's 550, 600, maybe even 700, maybe even 1,000 inside of a traditional retirement account because of its, I'll call it, inability to produce income, it won't matter because your money's not secure. And again, bringing this all full circle, what today was about was you need to understand where your money is currently. If it is tied to the stock market, it is not stable.
Right.
If it's tied to the stock market, it is not a savings plan. You are not saving for retirement. You are investing for retirement. Why? Because of that little minus. There's risk involved. You can do great with the market or cannot. What you want to do is make sure you understand where your money is and what you can control, you can control. Can you place your money in another vehicle? Place a portion of your money. Only contribute up to the match. Take that difference and get that compounding for you. Like you have, you can only control what you can control. You cannot fix your company. Although I'm coming for your company, just so you know, I will replace traditional retirement accounts. You mark my put a pin in it right here. Your traditional IRAs and 401ks will be replaced by secure compound interest accounts. You heard it here first. Can't do much for it today, but that's where we're headed. Why? It's the security part. Security outperforms wins and losses all day long.
Wendy said something here, and I just want to bring this up because this is such a point. I think this is kind of laced in what Craig's been saying, and Ted too. He's had some really great contributions, and I think it's all been there. I think we got the right crowd too. Everyone's on the same page here. Building generational wealth is fine, but it takes serious education to keep it and maintain it. That is where we have been handicapped. And
Intentionally.
there's a lot of topics that are like this, but imagine if you graduate high school and you feel pretty confident, like, even if I don't know how, I'm going to give this analogy, even if you don't know how to cook, right? You've seen people cook, you've eaten food that has been cooked, and you have the confidence that you could probably look up how to cook something. In addition, there are easy prepackaged type of things that make it a little easier to cook. So even if you're not growing your own food and doing from absolute scratch, then there's at least a way to make it easier, right? It doesn't feel super as overwhelming when semi-made, semi homemade stuff, canned sauce, whatever makes it easier. Some of those things that some of the confidence that we have is just in that it's been normalized.
Right.
We've watched noodles be boiled in a pot, so we know at minimum we know what it's supposed to look like, right? It's not completely foreign to us. What if financial planning was the same thing? And that's really what it should be. It should be so easy that you don't have to be an expert to do it. It should be so easy that even if you freaking hate math, right? Even if you do not feel comfortable moving forward with, it doesn't feel so overwhelming, is I guess my point, because it has been so normalized that it doesn't feel the same way anymore. This feels like, yep, I remember people talking about this and I've seen this happen. I've seen a budget. I understand what the income is that I need to make in order to make sure, because I'm paying myself first. Those types of concepts are normalized. And I think that's the that's the point of we have, because she's absolutely right. We have to be able to move this forward, and the only way we're going to is not by waiting until we pass away and then we say, gosh, when they get this whole big thing that I did, isn't that going to be great for them? Because most people go buy boats. Most people end up in the same situation that they were in, even though they were handed some sort of inheritance, right? They end up in the same situation because their mindset, they don't get it. They don't want to get it because to them, it just made it easier, made their life easier, and they never passed it on.
I think it goes strong parents make weak children.
Yeah. And it's hard to know when you think like, oh, I want them to have all the things I never did. And then you realize now they have problems I can't even identify and I cannot understand. Yeah.
Um,
Okay, we have more questions if that's okay. You want to comment and then we go?
I was just going to mention, you talk about this being taught. I just want to share something because I don't know that everyone knows this. Dave Ramsey is actually being taught in high school. There's about 14 states that has adopted Dave Ramsey's perspective on how to stay out of debt and build wealth, which means there's an agenda happening. So, yes, I agree with you that this information needs to be more readily available and accessible. But just understand, there's already an agenda going on to keep our kids sheep. so that they can keep going down this path of not understanding what's actually happening behind the scenes. And let me be clear. Here's the part that I like about Dave Ramsey. I believe that there are people out there who need structure. But once you have that structure, once you understand how to budget, and once you understand how to not put yourself in a position where you are over leveraged, my problem with Dave Ramsey and Dave Ramsey's approach is, what do you do after that? Once we're done with the baby steps, when do we graduate to walking? Once we're done with the baby steps, when do we start jogging? At what point do we run? At what point do we sprint? Because in order for us to be able to hit our goals, in order for us to be able to put our family in a position that we're not dependent upon these institutions that don't have our back, we have to learn how to do what it is they're doing. So to me, it's about what happens beyond that. I'm not opposed to teaching the way you maintain debt control in high school. Not opposed to that. But I think there's a layer that needs to be put on top of that. Once we're done crawling, once we're done taking these baby steps, what do we do to put ourselves in a better position? I think that's the piece that's missing. So,
Yeah, well, here's one because she's been making moves. She's eager. She's definitely got some things in place. Can I use a HELOC to fund an NPI, and if so, for how long? The value of my home has increased by 162,000 since purchase, and I owe 46. So there's definitely a lot of equity. And hold on one second, just to answer. There was somebody else, Dr. GW. Did I miss the answer to Lolo's question on the HELOC? No, you didn't. We're just trying to get through with him, and I got chatty. So that's on me. My
it's all
bad.
good.
Okay.
So I'm going to make an assumption on Lolo's age, and I'll throw it all in here in the calculator. I'm going to say she's 22. All right. Lolo's 22. And she's got about $162,000. Her home has increased in equity about $162,000. And because of her knowledge of velocity banking, what she's decided to do is just take a second position HELOC, not replace her mortgage with the HELOC, just simply a second position HELOC. And because she's put herself in a financial position to where she's not over leveraged, she does have cash flow, she can maintain her bills. She's just trying to better understand how to get money working for her. So she takes out a second position HELOC for $50K. What does a 22-year-old with $50,000 lump sum and being able to put away a modest amount, or let's just call it $300 a month, $50,000 lump sum, $300 a month, how long would it take for her to hit a six-figure income is the question. So let's take a look. And I don't know if the calculator is up yet, but throw me on the calculator. So 22. And I'll just run this out to, let's just say 55. And this is a $50,000 second position HELOC. Again, just to restate, a 22-year-old, I'm going to run this out till age 55 just because I can, not for any other reason. A $50,000 one-time lump sum used from a second position home equity line of credit. And let's throw an interest rate on it. A second position equity line of credit at 7.03%. Let's make the velocity banking people head explode. I'm going to take out I'm going to borrow 7.03%, and I'm going to do velocity banking to pay that $50,000 off. So however long it takes. But in addition to that, I'm going to dump that $50,000 in here and throw, I think I said I was going to do $300 a month into a secure compound interest account. What does that look like? Well, by age 55, double nickel birthday, well before retirement age, we're talking about $180,000 tax-free for life because you decided not to pay your home off. You decide to leverage the equity in your home and put it in a vehicle that can actually build money for you. How about this though? Let's take the home equity line of credit out. Let's say you didn't. Again, it's about time. You give that $300 time, we're still talking about $75,000 tax-free. So can you do it? Could you use a first or a HELOC based off the equity in your home to be able to grow a secure compound interest account? Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Now, the key is to do the math. Before you take those actions, let's see what the math looks like. 52, watching 32 likes. What?
Oh, it's Ted
comment?
giving us a shout out for
Oh,
people to give us some likes.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Ted. Okay, we have one more kind of like a stack here. Crypto Crazy says, Do you have to contribute a lump sum at the start of the policy? Can you start with just the monthly contribution for a 28-year-old doing $280 a month? They were paying attention to that 10 times.
Love it.
And then they said, what is the minimum for a well-structured policy? Great questions.
So 28 years old, and again, you can run it out however long you want. I ran this out to 55. What does this look like at 59? Still well with under the retirement age. What does this look like at 65? So can you start a secure compound interest account? The bare minimum is 10 times, excuse me, the bare minimum is 10 times your age. So 10 times 28, $280 a month absolutely is a sufficient dollar amount to be able to allow you to hit your goal. It is not required to put in a lump sum. What's the point of putting in a lump sum? The point and purpose of putting in a lump sum is so that you can get more money compounding for you faster. If you have more money compounding for you sooner, rather, if you have more money compounding for you sooner, that just means you're able to hit your goal faster. So again, we all have a certain number of compound cycles. If you are in a position to put in a lump sum, do it. If you're not, no one told you had to. It is not a requirement. You will get approved for what you've asked for. If you ask for $280 a month, this policy is going to be based off that $280. $280 a month buys a certain amount of life insurance. It's buying $144,000 in life insurance. So that $280 is based off that dollar amount. If you wanted to do double $280, guess what? You're buying double the life insurance. So that's where that amount comes into play.
Okay. And then, oh, we got some thank yous. Lola says she wishes, but she will still hear you out. We really appreciate everybody coming. We have one more. It just was a texted in, so I just want to make sure that we get to that. Did I already say we did 5,000 lump sum 650, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll do 42, no lump sum, $1,200 a month.
Yep.
There's no age.
No problem. I always, even if you meet with me through Zoom, I always use 65. always build these out to 65. 1,200 a month. By age 65, we're talking 119,000 tax-free for life. You are a millionaire. You're a millionaire with a death benefit where it starts out with 432,000. And if you were to pass, going through your retirement age, we're talking about passing on a legacy of 2.8 million. $1,200 a month gives you a nest egg cash value of about a little bit over $1 million. And again, if you were to do the same thing inside of a 401k or a Roth IRA, it's comparable dollar amounts, but this is based off the 4% rule. This is based off what your account is growing. You're growing at approximately 13%, so you're able to take a distribution of about 11%, and you'll be able to take that 11% for the rest of your life because you never touch your cash value. You're never eating into this number, whereas this is based off the 4% rule. Is 40,000 better than 119,000? How about this? Is growth at 6.25% better or worse than growth at 9%? You would think that this growth at 9% is better. I go back to, I don't care about net worth the same way I don't care about equity. Show me how much cash I have. Show me how liquid I am to be able to do what it is I want to do. If you're wondering whether you should get a mortgage or a HELOC, HELOC allows for liquidity. That liquidity allows for me to be able to put money in here to be able to produce income. No different than net worth. Let's go to Best Buy and let's spend your net worth. Net worth means nothing. Well, banks like net worth because that allows you to get loans and credit. But you can't spend net worth. I want to spend income. So even though this account is growing at 9% and this one's only growing on average of 6.25, these dollar amounts are comparable. What we're talking about is income. Which one allows you to be able to truly hit your goal? 40 grand or 100 grand?
Yeah.
Is that it, sweetheart?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. No, well, it's not.
Okay.
We have one about a HELOC, so I'll wait for that for just a second. But if you already have a whole life policies, can you get another policy or do you have to move it over? I'm already at early retirement age.
We all have this thing called max insurability. That max insurability is based off our age. and the amount of money that we make. And so you can have as many life insurance policies as you want. You can have 100 whole life policies and one secure compound interest account. The key is, are you exceeding your max insurability? Are you exceeding that maximum amount that you qualify for? And I'll give you high level what it would look like. If you're between the ages of 50 to, let's call it 55, or I think it may be 60, it's 20 times your income. So if you make $100,000 a year, 20 times your income is $2 million. You can have $2 million of life insurance. If you are, let's call it 40 to 50, it's 30 times your income. If you make $100,000 a year, 30 times 100,000, that's $3 million of maximum amount of life insurance you can qualify for. So in this case, if you have a whole life policy, do you have to move that dollar amount into your secure compound interest account? You do not. But here's the piece that you have to pay attention to. Most, and I'm basing this off my experience. I have looked at well over 300 whole life policies. I would say 98% of them are structured improperly, meaning the amount that you should have growing inside of your whole life policy is not what you currently have. And so if it's a policy that's not properly structured, my question to you is, why do you have it anyway? Meaning, it may make more sense to surrender that policy, let that policy lapse, and take that money that you were contributing and get it compounding for you. Now, not all situations are the same. My point to you is this. Depending on how your whole life policy is structured would determine what action you should take. Let's say it's a properly structured whole life policy with a lot of cash value. Then yes, it would make sense to 1035 that into a secure compound interest account, because you can take that lump sum and get that lump sum working for you in a vehicle that's more efficient. But if you have a whole life policy that's doing nothing for you, why have it anyway? Take that monthly amount, dump it into a vehicle that's actually working for you. And then the last piece is this. Some people buy life insurance for life insurance, and that's okay. Meaning, maybe you have your whole life insurance policy because you want to make sure there's a death benefit in case something happens to you. Your concern was not cash value. Your concern was not income. That's okay. So maybe it makes sense to keep that whole life policy because you got it at a cheap rate, meaning the premium you're paying is low for the insurance that you have, and you have it for the insurance. You don't have that whole life policy because you want to make sure you have income coming out of it. That's okay. So keep the whole life policy in the position that it's in, pay the monthly premiums that you're paying, but just know if you're wanting a vehicle that produces income, that secure compound interest account is where you want to go.
Why is it doing this? I don't understand what I did to. I want to say this part because we did this video, and if anyone went and watched it after I talked about it last time, it took me 3 days to edit this video because I was so angry when I learned this story about this lady who called, young woman who called Donnell for help, and then he talked to her mom. And learning what they were paying for their policies and what they were paying for, it ended up to be four $10,000 policies that they had paid for. But she had already paid and was continuing to pay 4 times the amount for those $10,000 policies. $40,000 for a $10,000 policy. You ain't got to be good at math to know that math don't math. And I was so angry because she just assumed that she had to keep paying this policy to keep it active because she was already so far down the road. What is she going to do? Lose all of that money if she stops paying? Sometimes it does not make sense. And that's why I wanted to jump in just to say, you're right. Sometimes it does make sense and sometimes it's okay, but have somebody look at your illustration, have somebody look at your policy because sometimes it does not make sense. And not all life insurance products are the same. The determination.
Not all people you get them from are the same. Not all companies you get them from are the same. Absolutely.
Right. And so if you are you could do yourself this favor. This is a good rabbit hole to go down. Look up how to sell life insurance. You could Google that right now. Go on, not right now. Stay here. You could Google that or search for it on YouTube. TikTok, especially, is the best place to look for this because it is becoming a booming industry because they're talking about how much money traditional life insurance agents can make. They will write policies because they are in the ways that they are profitable. How do you know the difference?
Wait a minute, profitable for who?
That's what I mean. Profitable for a life insurance agent, which is why if you go look how people are making more money, well, you know what? You know what? You don't even have to look because I went and got a lot of those videos and I put them in my video when I edited it. And I did because people need to know. So there's no surprises. But this is also why people say, well, how come I can't get an MPI plan from anybody? How come they can't, Donnell?
Again, not all products are the same. And what's required of someone who offers a secure compound interest account like MPI? What is honestly required? What is required is, excuse me, what is required is you have to have the client's best interest at heart. It requires a fiduciary standard. It requires a fiduciary responsibility, meaning I am not here for the commission. I am here for the structure. And the structure is what applies what allows you to build the right amount of income. And so what's required of the agent that offers a product like this is just purely knowledge and the ability to put their client first. Because once you do that, then you're focused solely on the tool. It's getting this tool right so that it fits you properly. And you can't get this from everywhere because you also have to be knowledgeable, tested, licensed to be able to do so. And have to be basically as a certified advisor to be able to provide a product like this. Now, how do you do it? There's not a lot that it requires for you to be able to do so, but you also have to be willing to do it. Meaning you have to be willing to also take less money. Life insurance
That
companies
part.
who provide MPI have to be willing to take less money.
Which is why they won't get certified because then they would be required to fund the policy in your best interest and fund the policy according to a standard that means that you're the one getting all of the benefit and they're simply just getting a small fee for helping you get it set up. But the whole point and the reason why these are just designed the way that they are, just to reiterate, is so that there is not somebody else benefiting more than you off of your policy. That was the entire point. So why would someone who is only wanting to be, and believe me when I tell you, I have personally called agents and I said, hey, look, you look really passionate about life insurance and you look passionate about helping people because they're doing content. And I say, what if you could help people in a better way? And they were like, oh, you don't make as much money? Like, why would I do that? Because you said you were passionate about helping people and change in generational wealth and all of these terms that you're using. So I'm just assuming you want to help people get self-directed and you want to help them do it in the right way that would benefit them more than you. They were just like, no, I have to make money. You have to do things this way because your systems don't work. That's why you have to
I
take
have to nickel
advantage
and
of
dime
people.
you. I have
That's
to nickel
right.
and dime you for my
Because if the
livelihood.
products that you sold worked, you would not be reliant on these commissions from other people.
That's
That's
it.
what it is.
That's it.
And that's where I feel so strongly that we have to get out here and we have to talk to people because the system that we built, we can only talk about the system that we built. What we built feeds, they all connect. They feed into each other. And that's what we're out here talking about.
Hold up. Denzel Rodriguez just commented on one of my videos.
Oh,
How dope is
well,
that?
he also did a live stream, the same title, our live stream, and so did Fantastic. So I think what the nice part about this is that this isn't a competition either
It's
because we're
not.
all out here trying to
There's
educate
stuff to
people.
learn. There's stuff to learn.
Right. But if we can even lead some of these topics because they don't typically talk about these things and because we knew that there were some deficits and we can get more people talking about them, I think that that's an amazing thing. So I love that. I really do. And thank you, Dr. G, for tuning in. There's some first timers here, and there's a lot of people who have returned and hang in here with us, and we really appreciate that. We have one more question, though, and I want to just throw that up here for
You've had one more question for
Save.
the last hour.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's
It's
for
all
real
good.
this
It's
time.
all good. It's all good.
And then
Save to
we'll.
serve. I love the name. Save
Yeah,
to
me
serve.
too. Says, I want to refinance my current home to buy another investment home. I'm under on my budget, so I know I'm not able to do the first HELOC. What do you suggest?
You have you have to get into a positive cash flow position. And let's be real clear. Interest rates are not the best. So as you're doing this research on wanting to get a better position in your home, man, take your time, because what you're wanting is you're wanting a bank or credit union to say, hey, here's a promo rate. This promo rate can beat what you have currently. And in addition to that, not just beat what you have currently, it's a promo rate that you also extended over a period of time that you're able to use and actually benefit from. So you want to be very, very a first position or a second position HELOC is not something you just jump into. As I mentioned, if we were to walk through what those steps are, what's your goal? But once you identify your goal, you need to make sure that that tool, or you then pay yourself first. Goal, pay yourself first, but that tool matters. And if you're picking the wrong tool and you're not in a positive cash flow position, you can hurt yourself. You can put yourself in a much worse position. And that is not the objective here. The objective is to identify a tool that you can actually use and leverage to actually build wealth. And sometimes that takes time. And
Right.
that time consists of you doing velocity banking the way you understand velocity banking and putting yourself in a much more positive cash flow position. Take your time. You don't have to rush into it.
Yeah, and I also think that some people think that real estate is the way to go, and they have their mind on this is what I have to do in order to generate wealth or build a wealth build passive income type of system for myself for income. And that's not always the case. Not everything is for everyone. Just because something works for someone doesn't mean it's going to work for someone else. You could buy a totally different house than what someone you know was successful in real estate and end up with a whole dang mess you don't want to deal with. So I just want to throw that out there. And then I also think that we just go ahead and give Denzel his flowers. Thank you
Man,
so
can I
much for
fan out?
tuning in.
Can I
Yeah, you
fan
can
out?
fan out. Yeah, go ahead.
I love you, brother. I've always understood velocity banking, but it was literally your videos that helped us get to where we are right now. Like I understood it on the core level, but because I could fan out on your content, and I'm a math dude, so I appreciate you because we did this video on how we're different. We are different. But I don't want it to ever seem as though I don't appreciate what Christy's doing, what other social media influencers are doing around this product, around this subject of velocity banking. I appreciate you. So I love you to death.
Yeah. And thank you so much for stopping by. It really means a lot to us because like I was saying, there's no competition out here. This is a community. We're building a community and what we knew we could do is jump out here and add new solutions, different solutions and also teach them in a different way for some of those people who are visual learners, right?
Absolutely, absolutely,
So yeah, we definitely appreciate it, and this is kind of the each one teach one moment right here in
absolutely.
happening live. And so at the whoever's watching now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 6 months from now, who knows when it could be, whatever it is that we are able to move forward or teach you and then to see you start a channel and now you're educating other people and we will the ripple effect will happen in that way. That's how the movement is going to happen. That's how people are going to become self-directed and take control of their finances in this
Absolutely.
way. Yeah.
Let's
So
rock out,
that's what's
sweetheart.
up.
Let's go eat.
Okay, so thank you guys so much. Really appreciate all of you coming out. Oh, he left another comment. To Thank you. Wow, this is amazing. I just discovered your channel not too long ago, and you are challenging me to think differently.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. I think because it is no different than what is also happening in my world too. I don't know everything. I'm just sharing what I know. So I love that. I love that. I appreciate that. I think there's mountains to be built here.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, on that note, we do need to go eat now, and we've been
Yes.
on now, I think, for 3 hours, so
That's
we're
good.
we're heading there. Before you guys go, though, we have a ton of free resources. So if you're new, I'm going to show you how to get them. if you've been here before and you have not gone to grab our free resources, I'm going to show you how to get them. We have 2 free books. One of them, how everyone ends up poor, or everyone ends up poor, and it really walks you through exactly what we've been talking about, why this happens, what to avoid, and what it is that you can do different. The other one is the Lost Science of Compound Interest. And I think that if you are in the space of wanting to find your leverage and wanting to know where you can have the most, I'm losing my words here, the maximum benefit with what it is that you currently have. I use the analogy all the time about using the furniture in the room and just rearranging the furniture, and how that can make a huge difference, but it's the same furniture, it's the same room, right? And I think compound interest and the principles around using systems like this is a very, very, very similar. You're using only what you currently have, but then after you see it working, what would happen if I add to this? Absolutely. So that's what those 2 books are about, and those 2 books are completely free. Everything that we have to offer you is completely free. So do you want to try our ending? Because we've been trying to work it out, and we try to come up with okay. We believe that even if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
we just want to make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay focused.
Stay protected.
Stay tuned.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you
get self-directed.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.